You're in the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
So we are now also heard on a radio station in Arkansas. I'll tell you more about that in a few moments. It's a 25,000 watt radio station. Now, I know most of you listeners don't care about watts and all that stuff. You care about MPG, but not watts. Well, the deal about watts is the more watts a station has, the more power it has, the more people can hear it. So we're on KQEW 102.3 FM in Arkansas. The station has 25,000 watts.
Sweet!
Boy, that can burn you, I'll tell you. Don't want to step in front of that transmitter. You know, you talk about frying. Speaking of frying, I don't know about you, but, you know, when we broke the story on the Paracast a few weeks ago about the fake educational credentials of Phil Imbrogno, I expected people to line up to maybe defend him. But somehow they're playing the game of shoot the messenger, and we happen to be the messenger here.
Break out your Kevlar, Gene.
Well, you know, I wear my bat suit. Well, it has the Kevlar, the special futuristic Kevlar, with the memory cloth and all that stuff. I'm ready. But you have to let this thing roll over you, but it's crazy. I mean, I didn't say that Phil Imbrogno didn't go to MIT. MIT said that. So I guess we should blame MIT. Maybe all the flames should be focused on MIT. What about the other educational institutions? Let's go after them too, huh? Or, wait a minute, the military. His military credentials are fake. Let's go after the military and fight them.
Hey, we discovered a new school that he claimed he went to, Northeastern.
Where's that?
I've heard of Northwestern, but I've never heard of Northeastern.
Well, all right.
Anyway, I figured I'd throw that one in there. The more you look, the more schools, I think, and the more degrees are being claimed. So,
I know it's very easy online to get yourself a college degree. You send somebody a couple $100, they print a beautiful degree. There are also online educational institutions, perfectly legitimate. You can't go to class. You're disabled or you're working, you really can't go to class. You take your courses online, and maybe you do have to show up at some point in time in the class to deal with some issues. But you get a real degree. It's recognized.
Yeah, well.
The other question I have is, would anyone take Phil Imbrogno's claims less seriously or more seriously if he didn't add all the baggage of fake degrees?
Well, that was one of the reasons why I was particularly impressed with his work, is because of his scientific credentials and educational credentials. I mean, that to me legitimized certain aspects of his opinion and thinking, although he did toss around some pop culture words like wormholes and portals and things like that fairly liberally, which always kind of struck me as being a little strange. But I think, yes, Gene, I think all those credentials do tend to add to the gravitas of a person's, viewpoint and opinion. So,
well, then, of course, at that particular point in time, some people suggest, well, now we should vet all our guests, submit their degrees so we can investigate this. We have to set up an HR department, you know?
Yeah.
And the thing is, too, understand, I'm sure that 98 or 99% of the people who claim to have degrees, undergraduate, advanced degrees, have the degrees they claim to have. So to investigate every degree like that, well, it gets to be ridiculous. It's not something we could do, we could afford to do, and certainly we're not going to ask each person with a military background or alleged military background to send us their credentials. That's also preposterous because, again, the vast majority of people, 98, 99%, I don't have the figures, but I expect I'm pretty much in the ballpark, people who had claimed to have degrees, people who claim a military background, it's genuine. The only time you question it is if in some other way they do things that make you suspect them.
Right.
Or they go too far. Maybe that was the downfall of Imbrogno. He went too far. He tried too hard to prove he was what he claimed to be.
Yeah. Of course, that photograph of him in the MIT sweatshirt is something pathological about it, something sociopathic about the whole thing. I just wished it would just go away. It's getting ridiculous out there.
Well, it's interesting here. I talked several times to Jim Moseley about this, and frankly speaking, other than the book that he co-authored with J. Allen Hynek and Bob Pratt, Night Siege, back in the 1980s, Jim hadn't heard of the other 15 or 20 books he wrote. So to him, Imbrogno was a non-entity, and maybe that's the whole point. Let's, shall we say, make him a non-entity, except, and I will say it again, if he offers to come on the show and speak the truth and nothing but the truth, and he's not going to be under oath, but you get the point, we'd let him on. Otherwise...
Oh, absolutely. That would be an interesting show, Gene.
Right. I don't want to hear about the SEAL degree. I don't want to hear that he actually went to school under a different name because the UFO paparazzi were going to come after him. But I'm really more disgusted, not so much in what he did, because I think he's out of the picture pretty much by now. It's all these other people who have made online flame wars out of this issue. And the question is why? What's the point? If they can prove he really had those credentials, okay, we're happy to see
that's
the
one
proof.
thing, but
sure.
That's not going to happen.
No. If they can prove it, fine. But otherwise, what do they have to say?
Well, I think basically it boils down to they're calling this a baby in the bathwater scenario, that there's too many people willing to throw all his work under the bus and just discount everything. And their argument is that, the guy did do some good work. So, we need to remember that. But
how do you take it seriously?
How
do you know?
How can you take it seriously?
Sure. How do you know if he lies about his educational background, he lies about his military background? And this is, one of the issues axiomatic in court. In court, if you prove that somebody on the stand has lied about one or more issues, you could use that as legitimate evidence to say he lies here, he could have lied there as well.
Yeah, I'm interested to know if he really went to the Middle East, if he really had those experiences in Oman and had dinner with a nephew of the Sultan or whatever.
Let's see the receipts, the plane tickets.
Yeah, or the stamps on his passport.
Sure.
And, there's some question whether those trips took place. So if you can come up with a scenario that isn't true within the work itself, then... you might as well just burn your copies of his books. I hate to say that, but it does call everything into question. And it'll be very interesting to see.
Or send the books back to the publisher and demand a refund, saying you were defrauded. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Listen, let's set that aside. And we know the chattering in the online blogosphere is not going to end. The paper episode podcast will continue to talk about it till the end of time. And somehow we will be the victims, as long as they spell our names right. But we're not going to mention their names. We have a fascinating guest for us today on the Paracast. Tell us about it.
Well, Paul Budding is, I think, a new face on the block here. I just recently was made aware of him by a very interesting paper that he published asking and calling for a serious new ufology. And I was so struck by his thinking and his very grounded approach to the 64-year conundrum that we've been all enamored with for so long. And I think he brought up some really good points in that paper, and he's also since then written another paper. And so I thought he would be a really good person to get on the show to get a fresh perspective and really look at where this fractious field is headed and what are the elements that we should be looking at that we've been sort of forest for the trees, been ignoring. And I think this is going to be a really good show, and I'm really looking forward to kicking some of these ideas around. Paul's also a Jungian academic. He's self-taught, but has immersed himself in Carl Jung's work.
Okay, we're going to get into that. Paul Budding coming up next on
the Paracast.
Neighbors, if you ever hosted an online meeting, you know how difficult it is to get those meetings started. It's your reputation at stake if anything goes wrong. That's why you need the easiest, most reliable online meeting service. GoToMeeting, brought to you by Citrix. Everybody can join a meeting in seconds without any technical headaches. GoToMeeting is so easy, you'll have your first meeting in seconds. See for yourself with this free trial. Visit GoToMeeting.com, click the Try It Free button, and enter promo code PODCAST.
Have you been sitting on a few great domain name ideas but haven't locked them in for yourself? Good. Now you can buy them through the #1 domain name registrar, Namecheap.com, as voted by the top tech blog Lifehacker. Just like the name says, you can buy domains cheap, as low as $2.99, and every new domain comes with WhoisGuard, our special privacy service, free for the first year. Now that you know, it's time to grab those domain names before someone else does. Namecheap.com. Go now. Namecheap.com.
Are you wondering about your retirement portfolio? Are you confident that the financial advisor is experienced enough to combat climbing interest rates, taxes, and inflation? Stop guessing and go to the expert, Robert Chapman of the International Forecaster. When you subscribe to the International Forecaster, you get Robert Chapman's 45 years of experience and concise investment recommendations. Who needs sugar-coated excuses when you can get the cold hard facts and proven investment leads you can't get anywhere else? For a free introductory copy to Robert Chapman's International Forecaster, subscribe now at theinternationalforecaster.com or call 877-479-8178. Experience the difference. When you subscribe, you can email Robert Chapman directly to obtain investment advice tailored just for you. Don't wait another minute. Subscribe today at theinternationalforecaster.com or call 877-479-8178. That's 877-479-8178.
You've heard a lot lately about Zeolite, but what is it and why do you need it? Zeolite is a beautiful, complex crystalline structure that encapsulates radiation and odors. Zeo-King Zeolite naturally eliminates radiation poisoning your body may pick up from X-rays, security scanners, or nuclear fallout. Zeo-King flushes environmental toxins absorbed from smoke, cell phones, and chemicals, so it detoxifies heavy metals including mercury, lead, and cadmium. Zeo-King Zeolite helps boost your immune system, allowing your body to balance itself and cut off food supply to cancer and parasites. Order your Zeo-King Zeolite now from zeoking.com for only $39.99 and receive a free month supply with every order. Call 888-402-6779. That's 888-402-6779. Or visit zeoking.com. That's zeoking.com for natural elimination of radiation poisoning.
For centuries, silver has been used as a powerful natural antibiotic, and as a listener to this station, you probably already know the benefits of using colloidal silver. With so many websites to choose from, finding a reputable, patriotic company with great products at affordable prices can be a difficult task. Introducing UtopiaSilver.com. UtopiaSilver.com carries the best, most effective, and most affordable colloidal silver and colloidal gold products in the industry. UtopiaSilver.com also carries products to fit your lifestyle, including weight loss, immune system defense, cleanses, herbs, joint and bone care, and much more. First-time customers using promo code GCN50 will receive 50% off all colloidal products. Visit us today at Utopia Silver, that's UTOPIA Silver, utopiasilver.com, or call 888-213-4338. That's 888-213-4338. UtopiaSilver.com, taking back America's healthcare one American at a time.
The GCN Radio Network, providing the world with hard-hitting talk radio. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
We want to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com. Get in on all the action at forum.theparacast.com.
Well, here we are, another edition of the Paracast, and I'm really pleased to have Paul Budding all the way from Britain. We're going to be talking about some interesting papers that he's written recently, and also I think we'd like to, at least I would like to get into some of the Jungarian, Carl Jung's thinking about archetypes and, you know, the UFO phenomenon. Of course, his last book was written about UFOs, and I think that we're going to have a fun time with it. Paul, why don't you give our listeners a little background about who you are and how you came to start the UFO Institute, which is I guess a kind of an umbrella organization that you've set up to look at some of these mysteries that we're all so enthralled by. So why don't you give us a little background about yourself?
I'm self-educated in Jungian psychology. I was a previous member of the International Association for Jungian Studies. I dialogued a lot with an American writer called Robert Segal, who was a member of the International Association for Jungian Studies. He wrote a little bit about UFOs, apparently. And in his book, Jungian Mythology, he takes extracts from Jung's writings on UFOs. Anyway, for me, my degree's in social science, and I've trained as a person-centered counsellor. I've got a slight interest in the technological singularity. And of course, the reason why I'm here is because I've got interested in UFO phenomena as well. And that paper, and trying to start this institute off, which is brand new, so I haven't really got it up and running yet. But I've got good help on the technical side. All the computer side of it, from someone called Nathan Wozniak. He's very computer savvy, therefore he's excellent help. Anyway, that's my background, I think.
Well, how long have you been interested in UFOs?
Oh, well, that goes back to when I was a child, but I've not been, seriously interested in it, beyond the hype of it, sort of thing. I mean, the movies, yeah, but getting interested in it to write anything about it is just really this year, although I will have read about it from the Young Connection over the last few years.
And so this whole recent spat of writing that you've done is pretty much your sort of introduction or introducing yourself to the field. Let's talk a little bit about Beyond the Living Myth, from Serious Old Ufology to Serious New Ufology, which is a paper that you, interestingly enough, published on the United States Independence Day on July 4th of this year, which is what brought you to my attention. And why don't you give us a little bit of background on how long it took you to come up with this idea or this analysis of the situation, and what has prompted you to go ahead and create the Serious New Ufology Institute, as you call it.
It's again, because I was interested in Jung before, it's hard to say when all the views formed bit by bit. But the background to it, I start off with the psychology side of it, because it's easy to imagine that it's all psychological, especially if you've studied Jung. It's easy to imagine that people are interested in it because it's fascinating, it gives them awe, and I'm sure there's a lot of that is involved. But I don't think it's all explained by that, because it does seem that there is some intelligently controlled craft in the skies, as you're probably very, very, very familiar with. So even, for example, Jung says that he thinks that conscious and unconscious fantasy play a big role in building up the rumour, and the psychological explanation seems at first that it must be the case. But then he says, so far as I know, it remains an established fact supported by numerous observations that UFOs not only have been visually, but have also been picked up on the radar screen and left traces on the photographic plate. So it boils down to nothing less than this: that either psychic projections throw back a radar echo, or else the appearance of real objects affords an opportunity for mythological projections. You would often say archetypal projections there, but it's the same sort of thing. But like I say, there's this projection idea that people are wanting to back up their feelings of fascination, and defend that. So it's like a modern religion. But then again, like I said, there's this these crafts are seen. We see it with Hastings talking about UFOs over nuclear facilities in America. We see it with Dolan's work on he's going on about declassified documents that say that UFOs have been chased by the military in America and other places. Nevertheless, if the ET hypothesis, right, what's commonly known as F, then that is a coincidence, because that's mainly the projection that UFO buffs throw onto what they see in the skies. But there are other theories, though, as you probably know. Interdimensional time travelers, so it could be human, it could be secret government somewhere that is really ultra
crypto-terrestrials, the trickster. I mean, there's all sorts of theories out there. What I've noticed in your paper is that you very sort of methodically and very logically address some of the more popular theories and look at the possible implications of these particular theories and how perhaps there is no one size fits all type answer according to your thinking, and that we should be looking, I think, a little bit more broadly at the whole phenomenon and the mystery, and really looking at our motivations. I think you just sort of hinted around at that. I think you use the term living myth in your paper, which it rings true to me. This has been my thinking for quite some time now. We're seeing the emergence of sort of a new model of religion and religious belief, and of course Jacques Vallée, who most of our listeners are quite aware of, did address this in Messengers of Deception, which I think is a very important book that I think not enough people in the field have read or reread. And so why don't you give us, from your background as a Jungarian, someone that has studied and works with the Jung school of thought in psychology, why don't you give us your breakdown of how the extraterrestrial hypothesis myth, for instance, appears to you and the role that it plays in the field right now?
It's very difficult. I think that probably the majority of people that maybe just watch a TV show, maybe don't, on some channel, I don't know if I can name channels on here, but they might not think about UFO phenomenon much more than from what they see and what they only occasionally see. They might not think about it all the time. But once they've seen a program like that that shows discs in the sky reconstructions, that might attach to that. They might attach to that, and they might like the feeling they get from that. And that side's Jungian, in the sense that they'll want to believe. It's like wanting to believe in gods or whatever. It's that sort of religious feeling, yeah.
I'll tell you what, Paul, we'll pursue this in our next segment. I'm Gene Steinberg. The co-host is Chris O'Brien. You're in
the Paracast.
Ray Perkins, a reclusive veteran burned out from the Gulf War, lives tortured by relentless, perplexing nightmares. Nightmares of a horrific battle in deep space and of a mysterious woman suffering in agony for her devastated world. A woman not yet born, calling across centuries to him. Then, a coincidence leads him to his destiny, his chance to alter the universe. Attack of the Rockoids. The former fiction editor for Star Wars and Indiana Jones, Robert Simpson, writes, "The soul of the novel Attack of the Rockoids lies in its heart and passion for building a convincing tale of a love that spans the galaxy. A thrilling story. Attack of the Rockoids is available now. Read a sample chapter and get a special discount off of the cover price at our website, rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com. Attack of the Rockoids, a novel in the grand science fiction tradition.
Ready to save? Then you're ready for the Super Summer Sale at Herbal Healer Academy. Herbal Healer has been the leader in quality natural supplements for 23 years. Log on to herbalhealer.com and take advantage of Herbal Healer Academy's incredible savings on 500 parts per million colloidal silver, the best pharmaceutical grade available at all sizes on sale. Super Male Plex with Uhimbi and Super Femplex for summer toning. Buy glucosamine chondroitin 60 caps, summer sale priced at only $12. Colon Enhancer 250 caps, summer sale priced at just $18. And if your brain's a little foggy, we have a great supplement on sale called Memory Power. Log on and hit the postcard specials link for more super summer savings at herbalhealer.com. As always, new customers get a free catalog with first order. Herbal Healer Academy, healing the world with nature, one person at a time.
If you drive for a living, you don't get paid to stop or wait in line. Keep your wheels moving with Pre-Pass. Bypass way stations, fly-by port of entry facilities. Stay moving at highway speed while the guy without Pre-Pass waits in line. Save time, save money. Call 888-401-PASS to try Pre-Pass free. That's 888-401-PASS.
What's cooking at PrizeKitchen.com? Plenty! Low prices on your favorite kitchen brand appliances, Vitamix blenders, Omega juicers, reverse osmosis systems, and more. Plus, free shipping on it all. PrizeKitchen.com gives your family the tools for a healthy lifestyle by eating more fruits and veggies and drinking pure water. Go to PrizeKitchen.com. Great selection, low prices, free shipping. PrizeKitchen.com. We help make healthy lifestyles convenient.
The American people think they live in a constitutional republic, land of the free, home of the brave. Right.
Just try those lines on the judge when you get a ticket or have to deal with a big bad IRS.
Instead, use escapeharassment.com. Since 1972, our volunteer group of researchers and educators have successfully taught how to escape tickets by law, and it works. Escape Harassment has 3 different steps to follow, depending on where you are in the ticket process. Learn how to escape tickets, IRS, or court proceedings before you go to court. For free, 3-minute pre-recorded information and FAQs, call this toll-free number, 1-877-457-9009. That's 877-457-9009. Or go to escapeharassment.com and see our money-back guarantee. That's escapeharassment.com. Remember, escape harassment works.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Hi, this is Don Ecker, and you are tuned into the Paracast. Let me tell you what, you're going to hear stuff here that you probably won't hear anywhere else. Hear that, George Snorri?
We're back with Paul Budding, and his organization is called the Serious New UFOlogy Institute, and we're exploring belief systems, UFO investigations, Jungian psychology, and lots more. Chris, you want to pick up on this?
Well, before we went to break, we were talking about people maybe with a casual interest in this subject seeing a show that fascinates them and creates a sense of awe. So we do have to factor the media in here, I think, at the ground level, because the media is responsible for creating belief systems in people that are maybe not motivated enough to do their own research and find out what rings true for them based on their own personal study. They allow the media to sort of do their thinking for them, I guess would be a way to put it. This is always, to me, has always been, I think, a major stumbling block for the field to move forward. Why don't you address the media and the role that the media plays here?
Well, what I was saying before is it also adds to being preferable to believe. So when you get the opinion polls, or do you believe in UFOs, there's probably a bias to slanting to say, yes, I do, because that's what you want. So, I mean, I think, was it Fox Mulder in X-Files, I think, had a poster saying he wanted to believe.
Yeah, I want to believe.
Yeah, so I think there's quite a lot of that, and that's tied to the psychology side, obviously.
Well, do you think that the way the question is being asked, Paul, skews the response?
I'm not sure about that. I think that UFO phenomenon can be one religion. Maybe the questions and opinion polls can always skew, but I think there is a bias towards wanting to believe. But then again, I think there's something I believe there's intelligently controlled craft out there, and I don't think it's because of some fascination and awe that's making me think that now. I think it is possible to look at it objectively, but then we come back to the question. Hastings is very, very, very intelligent guy, and he's looked at declassified documents involving the nuclear weapons over the nuclear facility sites, and so he believes that there's intelligent controlled craft that are interfering with the nuclear weapons in America.
I should say before we go on that Robert Hastings, the author of UFOs and Nukes, will be a guest again in the near future on the Paracast. He's been on in the past. Go ahead, Paul.
But he jumps to the conclusion, not for definite, give him credit, he says that he's not certain, he's just speculating. But even he believes that it's ETs from other planets that are doing it. So you can look into the subject seriously and come up with the same conclusion by coincidence as people who, like you say, through the media, through the shows on television, who are just going at it from how it makes them feel, or what it makes them want to believe. You can have by a coincidence the same conclusion.
Let's go back a little bit to Carl Jung, because he wrote this book back in the 50s, which maybe 3 people read. UFOs, a modern myth or something of things seen in the sky. Now, the issue here, of course, the thing that he talked about, and this is where it kind of got maybe a little confused also, he talked of a collective unconscious. Now, for the sake of everyone, we don't want to basically cause your minds to explode here. A collective unconscious, it's kind of means like a collective belief. Is that correct?
Not really, Gene.
So how would you describe collective unconscious? Does that mean that the unconscious mind of all the people create the reality?
It's basically that which is unknown, but it's more than that. It's Jung thinks that it's innate and already in human beings, in everyone's heads, I suppose. It goes beyond Freud's repressed unconscious. He thinks it's all archetypes. He thinks it comes from emotions. Everyone's got the same emotions inside them that have the potential to out. I mean, I'm not a classical Jungian, so, but nevertheless, he thinks that the archetypes goes beyond personal complexes. So I'm trying to think of an example. The shadow is definitely a classic Jungian example.
Yeah, and that would probably be the most basic of the archetypes.
Yeah, and that's why it's come to my mind, I think. He thinks that consciousness is individual, but because people's virtues is what's most unique about each individual in Jung's opinion. But the shadow, he thinks, is very similar or the same across everyone. Therefore, the shadow would be an archetype of the collective unconscious.
Okay, so how do we relate the concept of archetypes, collective unconscious, and everything to UFOs? How did he envision UFOs in relation to all that?
More simply, that it was a projection of meaning into the skies, I would say, in a very modern dress. So,
right. It's a manifestation of the mandala, which is also an archetypal. An archetype found collectively in all cultures. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the things that he postulated was that the mandala is a symbol of completeness. And with the Cold War, really heated up in the early to mid 50s, I think he wrote the book in 56 or 57, if memory serves me correct. But with the Cold War heating up, he surmised that possibly, people were projecting this positive sort of symbol of completion into the reality as a way to sort of counteract the fear that was pretty palpable, I think, during the Cold War, and that the mandala archetype is one that obviously he identified the UFO shape, the shape of the disc, the discoidal. Yeah. Shape as being a physical representation of a sort of a space-age mandala, for lack of a better term.
Would you also state that maybe we projected UFOs originally because they would come here to save us from ourselves? We couldn't get out of the Cold War, the threat of a nuclear catastrophe, so ET had to come down here and take care of it.
Yeah, the Mandela point that you made was a very good point. The shape of it as well, being like a disc. And Jung was very big on compensation. So, like you say, for the wars going through the Cold War and what have you, he thought that this was very much a compensation phenomenon. But he did also seem to think that ultimately there was something physical to it that was real.
This was an issue in one of Major Donald Kehoe's books, okay, where he basically had to get reassurance or reassure Dr. Jung back in the 50s that he believed UFOs to be not just something that we imagine, but something real. It's tracked on radar. It's a physical phenomenon. it's a real spaceship. He tried to make that line of demarcation.
He did, but he didn't go into it. He stuck with the psychology, but you can see from some of the things he said. I quoted at the start of the show. One of the things he said showed that he did actually accept that there was something physically real to it. But he stuck mainly to the psychological because he always said that he was first and foremost a psychologist.
So how do we separate the psychological UFOs from the ones that have a external physical reality?
Or can you?
Yeah.
I can't. Jung didn't try to do that. He just said that despite the fact that it was mainly that it was psychological, there was I think he thought there was a coincidence of the projection of meaning in disguise, the mandala, the UFO, what was projected onto them, the fascination, the awe, and all of that. And he thinks there was also something real to it. And to disentangle that would be a very difficult job, I think. Nevertheless, he never actually went into anything about the ETs. So whether I think he was just going about as far as what I am in saying that there's something to the intelligently controlled craft.
I'll tell you what, we'll get into more of this in our next segment. Paul Budding joining us, and he has this organization which is called, how's that? It's the Serious New UFOlogy Institute. There you go. Paul Budding joining us. Please send your comments about the show to news@theparacast.com, news@theparacast.com. I'm Gene Steinberg. The co-host is Chris O'Brien. You're in
The Paracast.
So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It just stopped responding. It took hours before it returned, but I'd already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you'll want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Check it out. iWeb.com. That's iWeb.com. For 58 years, Fate has provided true reports of the strange and unknown. Fate brings you the latest in all aspects of the paranormal, like angels and miracles, psychic phenomena, ghosts, UFOs, and much, much more. To receive your complimentary Fate magazine, call now at 1-800-728-2730 or visit their website at www.fatemag.com. That's 1-800-728-2730. What are you waiting for? Your fate awaits.
If you're concerned about radiation poisoning from Japan in the air, water, or food and can't find potassium iodide, go to RestoreYourHealthNow.com and choose Liquid Zeolite. Liquid Zeolite is hands down the best product to remove radiation from your body and safely removes toxins, heavy metals, boosts energy levels, and promotes a strong immune system. For fatigue, muscle weakness, headaches, memory loss, influenza, joint pain, or toxic radiation poisoning, use Liquid Zeolite from RestoreYourHealthNow.com. Liquid Zeolite is so powerful it was used to clean up contamination in Chernobyl, yet so gentle you won't even know you're taking it. Liquid Zeolite comes with a money-back guarantee, but is only available at RestoreYourHealthNow.com. Learn how to get free bottles of Liquid Zeolite at RestoreYourHealthNow.com. That's RestoreYourHealthNow.com or call 800-880-9976. Call 800-880-9976 today and learn how to get free bottles of Liquid Zeolite.
Are you tired of spending money for metal canning lids year after year? Then stop. Stop buying metal lids and get Tatler reusable canning lids. Made of USDA and FDA-approved food-grade plastic, Tatler canning lids let you safely store emergency preparedness foods for years. Traditional metal lids are single-use throwaways that contain BPA, but Tatler canning lids are indefinitely reusable and guaranteed to last a lifetime when used as designed for home canning and contain no BPA. Tatler lids are dishwasher safe, perfect for standard pressure or water bath canning, eliminate food spoilage from acid corrosion, fit standard mason jars, and are proudly made in the USA. Place orders by phone at 877-747-2793 or go to reusablecanninglids.com. That's 1-877-747-2793 or go to reusablecanninglids.com. That's reusablecanninglids.com. Tatler Reusable Canning Lids, the original since 1976.
Don't let summer be a bummer. Stop sunburn pain, poison ivy, and mosquito bite itch, and the burn of athlete's foot with just one safe all-natural first aid product, Dermatol. Many GCN listeners have already discovered how effective Dermatol is as a natural, non-acidic way to treat cuts, burns, bites, rashes, shingles, boils, and many skin problems. Now this special offer. Buy one bottle of Dermatol, get one bottle free. Call 1-800-217-6677 and mention GCN. Dermatol is the must-have first aid product for your preparedness kit. Made in America by Americans, Dermatol's soothing, rapid restoration of injured skin is so effective it's guaranteed. Call 800-217-6677. That's 800-217-6677 and ask for the GCN Buy One Get One Free special or use coupon code GCN at checkout at DermatolUSA.com. Spelled DermatolUSA.com. Efficient, economical, effective. Spray it all with Dermatol.
Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
This is Hilly Rose, and I hope that you do listen to the Paracast because you will learn a great deal about the paranormal.
We continue with Paul Budding. The organization is called the Serious New UFOlogy Institute, and I'm going to want to draw a line of demarcation here between old ufology and new ufology because we used to use that term back in the 60s. I don't know if Paul knows that. Co-host is Chris O'Brien. I'm Gene Steinberg. At that point in time, in the UFO field, we talked about ET coming here in physical spaceships. And for whatever purpose. Okay? They're tracked on radar, sometimes photographed, leave physical traces, etc. Some of us came up with a new ufology concept, and people like John Keel were involved in this, Jacques Vallée, talking about the less than physical aspects of UFOs. So, Paul, I put the question to you. When you talk about serious old ufology before we define new ufology, serious new ufology, how do you define serious old ufology?
In the paper that I wrote, I would say that the declassified documents, which are actually quite new and fresh, but nevertheless, accumulated all these cases on top of each other, and yet the field's never really progressed. It's not really convinced the skeptics. So I'm thinking that since the declassified documents have come into the open, we can say that it seems to be clear to quite a few new academics onto the scene that military jets have been scrambled that are to chase intelligently controlled craft that are unknown. Now, when more and more of these cases build up in the future, you could define that as the old ufology. I mean, not to discredit it, like I don't know, a political party might refer to old Democrat or old Labour or something, and they're usually said to discredit. It's not in that sense as such. But nevertheless, serious new ufology you might want to think, right, we know about these cases, there's one on top of the other all the time. At least Nick Pope, the most famous British ufologist perhaps, says that about 5% of these cases are genuine, and he likes the books that Leslie Kean writes. And you could say that Leslie Kean and Dolan, they're writing about serious old ufology, and it's time maybe to think, well, what are these craft? That would be serious new ufology. What do they represent? Are they ETs, or are they time travellers? Are they secret human government? Nevertheless, just because I categorise this, I'm not trying to sound like, well, there we go, then everything's sorted, because you might say that some of the cases look clearly as, how can I put it, the Congress lights, for instance, in 1952, they look like possible. There's something clearly going on here. There's UFOs over Congress. It's a national security breach. And also the Hastings cases we refer to about the deactivation of the nukes, they look like clear cases. But nevertheless, there's still that problem remaining that we cannot say what exactly they are, if they're ET or not. So I categorise it, and it might sound like a good idea, and I think it is a good idea to categorise, but it doesn't give us the answer of what are they, and that's Serious New UFOlogy's question, I would say.
Well, how do you go about separating out potential different players here in this scenario? Because it does appear to me, at least, and I think a lot of people, that we're dealing with something infinitely more complicated than a simple ETH one-size-fits-all answer. We could have secret military craft that have exotic capabilities, possibly remotely piloted. There is some evidence to suggest that there is a percentage of sightings misconstrued as UFOs that are actually very terrestrial in nature. We also have objects that appear to be metaphysical in some sense. They can appear and disappear. They can morph from one shape into another shape. They can appear sometimes on radar, but other times they don't appear on radar. Sometimes you'll have a group of witnesses, and only maybe 9 out of 10 of the people will see the actual object, and there are people that actually can't even see it. So how do you separate all this out? How do you come up with some sort of litmus test that's going to help separate out each one of these potential players?
It's very difficult. I think there's two key theories, and one's I can think of by Nick Cook, not Nick Pope, Nick Cook, and he is very familiar with human anti-gravity technology going back till the end of the Second World War. Because you know that you'll probably know yourself that America captured lots of German Nazis, scientists, and they were working on projects to do with discs.
Of course, the Nazi scientists basically created our space program.
Oh, yes, and they were working on discs, apparently, according to Nick Cook. And this anti-gravity technology, there was a project that called the Bell, and Nick Cook claims it was able to distort time and space, this craft. So there's a lot of human technological side to it, I think. But nevertheless, that guy Hastings again, he disputes all this. He says that such technology couldn't possibly exist as far back as the 40s, but that he sees the UFOs manoeuvres as doing. Says that couldn't possibly be done in the 40s, and never mind the 40s, couldn't be done in the 80s, he claims. So there's quite a big split between someone like Nick Cook and someone like Robert Hastings, yet they both seem to make good points to me. So, yes, continue.
Well, Nick Cook, for some of our listeners who might not be familiar with him, for many years was the chief investigative reporter for Jane's Defense Weekly, which I think is probably still has the record of being the oldest publication that's been continuously published. He's done a number of very good documentaries on the UFO subject and on advanced potential black project type programs. One of them I actually was in, called $1 Billion Secret, which I do recommend. It's online. You can see it on YouTube. So Hastings also brings up the point, which you bring up in your paper, that if it is U.S. exotic black technology, why would they be going over our own nuclear weapon sites and messing around with turning nukes off and that sort of thing? It doesn't make sense to Hastings that we would be doing that to ourselves, and that's a point well taken. But perhaps there is some sort of psychological warfare program going on, testing the effectiveness of our personnel inside these. Maybe these are tests that they're enacting on our own personnel. So there are possible scenarios that could be looked at that would fit into a black budget, exotic terrestrial craft scenario. But it is an interesting point that he does raise about why would we want to turn off our own nuclear weapon systems or freak out the personnel who are manning them, because once something scary like that happens, you do tend to ratchet up the potential for some sort of accident to happen, and maybe some of these things get fired off for some reason. You, back in the Cold War, we got to the brink on quite a number of occasions that most people don't know about. And, this whole political situation was a powder keg. So I am in the midst of reading his book, and I'll tell you, there are quite a number of very well-documented examples of overflights of these types of weapons facilities and actual nuclear power plants and whatnot. Can you come up with an idea of how to possibly, look at anecdotal information in the old ufology way and possibly glean some sort of indication of what these things are based on the type of report it is? Do you think that's even possible?
Well, I'm stuck between Nick Cook and Robert Hastings on this, their arguments. Like you say, I have thought about the point that why would American intelligence shut down their own nukes? So that's what one to Robert Hastings as such. You said there was psychological test. I've heard that said by, I think, Jacques Vallée concerning Rendlesham Forest, which is Nick Pope's favourite pet topic in UFO phenomenon. You know about Rendlesham Forest in the early 1980s in Britain. It was a US military base. And craft actually was supposed to have actually landed. So that sounds like very convincing proof. Almost like not almost like landing at the White House, but the next nearest thing, landing on a military base and everyone getting to see it. And Jack Vallée thinks that case is so convincing that must have been a psychological test. So the point you raised there about psychological test, it's an interesting theory for some cases.
I think one of the arguments made is that over the years, in addition to quote-unquote real UFOs, there have been some instances of disinformation, instances where someone or somebody is playing a game, testing our reactions to different things, maybe testing our reaction to a possible genuine visitation by E.T. We'll have to find out more. Paul Budding joins us. I'm Gene Steinberg. The co-host is Chris O'Brien. You're in
the Paracast.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like to listen to GCN programs on the go, I have great news. GCN has created a Droid and iPhone application, and it's free. Just as easy as going to GCNlive.com, click on the banner, and download. Before you know it, you'll be listening to your favorite hard-hitting GCN shows, live or on demand, right on your Droid or iPhone, 24/7 and on the go. So download the Droid and iPhone app free by clicking on the banner at GCNlive.com. Thanks again for listening to GCNlive.com. Again, that's GCNlive.com. We the people grow cotton, weave fabric, engrave ink, embed strips and fibers to protect from counterfeit, then carting to a private bank, having it lent back at interest, forcing taxes to service debt. This capitalism, or was Jefferson correct when stating a central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army? Ted Anderson, I'm placing a free silver dollar in a book that explains our monetary system. Call for your copy, 800-686-2237. It's time to understand the system. Call 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
This is the second hour of the Paracast. The host is Gene Steinberg, co-host Chris O'Brien. Paul Budding is our guest, and he is exploring new ufology and old ufology. And I think one question I would ask right up front before we get on with our discussion is, Paul, do you think that we are too stuck in the old ufology when it comes to UFO investigation? It's like we're repeating the same stuff we heard back in the 1950s over and over and over again.
To a large extent, yes, but I cannot say that. I think the declassified documents have brought maybe some people onto the scene, onto the UFO scene, who wouldn't otherwise be here now. And a brilliant example of that is Michio Kaku, who endorsed Leslie Kean's book. So I think that the declassification of documents has been a big help to the ufology field. And it's also encouraging some people who have looked a lot into the phenomenon to, come out and say they endorse it, and Kaku's a great endorsement. He's a theoretical physicist, popular theoretical physicist. He looks into all kinds of areas, from hyperspace to the singularity. He's well respected within hard science, and he said that the UFO phenomenon is real. So I think it's making very slow progress, but I'm not one of those who says that disclosures come in imminently, though.
Yeah, that's a whole topic of conversation right there. So what do you think of the exopolitical movement and the disclosure movement? Do you think it has a snowball's chance in Iraq to stay unmelted?
On the internet, I've noticed that if you look back, you see there's going to be disclosure in 2008, 2009, 2010. So that really is disheartening. It makes me think it's probably not the case. And besides, I'm not sure that the US elites, who it's usually aimed at, the president, etc., I'm not sure that they know what is going on. I think Bill Clinton, when he was president, once answered someone, if I remember, like Sarah McClelland. I haven't got her name in front of me, so I hope I got that right. She asked why he hasn't done anything about disclosure, and Bill Clinton said something like, Sarah, there's a government inside the government, and I don't control it. That's very close to the exact quote. And if that's true, which my guess is that is the case. So I think that the US elite, the Obama now, I think they probably know that there's something out there it's unknown, it's intelligently controlled, it's craft. I think they must know about what stuff Hastings goes on about. They must know about the Congress lights from the early 50s. But I don't think that they can announce anything, because they can't say that there's something out there that messes on with our nuclear weapons and invades our airspace and flew over Congress, but we don't know what it is. That just wouldn't sound... It's like the sort of thing that an American government or any other government could announce.
Well, the other question always gets to be this, Paul, is governments in general tend to be inefficient, incompetent. They are reactive, not proactive. So can they keep a secret for 64 years?
I think that the answer to that is that the craft that's so advanced, it would have to be that craft would have to land crash in a city or something like that. I think that the fact that they haven't had to disclose, speaks for itself.
Right. The last thing governments want to do is admit that they're impotent in any situation. One thing that I've kind of noticed is all these other countries that have been slowly declassifying their files. I've always had a hunch that this is to try to keep the heat off the U.S. Every, 6 to 9 months, another country releases another batch. I think it's just slowly keeping the glare of publicity off the U.S. government, and that these other countries are slowly releasing this information as part of a very well-coordinated program, probably, as you pointed out, orchestrated by the U.S. But having said that, again, I restate my question. Is there any way, using the tenets and the approach of old ufology, is there any way, looking at anecdotal information, to determine what it is that we're looking at definitively? And I think it's more of a rhetorical question, because I don't think there is. And you have pointed out in your paper that that we need to start rethinking and looking at this whole thing from a new and fresh perspective. Why don't you give us dive in a little bit more into your thinking about how we're going to move forward with this new ufology?
There's so many areas of this phenomenon, in my opinion. I mean, for example, talking about the difference between Hastings and Cook, and one of the things that comes to my mind, I mean, we've said something that is a plus for Hastings, the fact that why would America mess with its own nukes. One of the things for Cook is that most of the phenomenon is concentrated in the US, which again goes back to I'll get to your question in a second. It goes back to the capturing the German Nazi scientists.
But it's not concentrated in the U.S. We know that.
Entirely, but there's more, if you go on YouTube, for me, I see more cases in a lot more. I know that the US is a bigger country than Britain, but more than 4 or 5 times as many cases seem to on YouTube seem to be from America than from the UK. And obviously, it's an example I would give coming from the UK myself.
But a lot happens in countries where we're not so attuned to Facebook and YouTube. Sure, South America has a lot of sightings.
Yeah. Especially where Argentina and Bolivia come together.
I suppose from my experience, there seems to be a slant towards the US over, say, Europe. I can't speak for places like China or what have you, or for Brazil and so on. But to get to your question as well, about what, can you just repeat that question, please, just to refresh your memory?
Well, in other words, can we use the same methodology that we've been using ineffectively for 64 years to solve anecdotal cases? I mean, what do you propose? What new approach would you propose to attempt to move this whole game forward? And it is a game, and it does need to be moved forward. Of course, I'm sure many of our listeners on the Paracast are tired of hearing me sound like a broken record saying the wheel's broke, it's off the vehicle. We need to get creative and get outside the box and come up with new approaches to the subject matter.
It's a good question, and I think that it's slow progress. That's my opinion. You might disagree, but I think that it has moved on since we've had the declassified documents. You know about Leslie Kean's work and Dolan's work?
Sure. Well, we've had Richard Dolan and Leslie Kean on our show, so we're quite aware of what they have. But the question I always see here is, yes, we've seen the book, especially Leslie Kean's book, because it became a New York Times bestseller. She was on all the major TV stations. But the concern and the interest seemed to die down after a while. This is what always happens in the UFO field. Over the years, an occasional book basically bubbles to the top, and after a while it's gone again.
Communion.
Do you agree, though, that the field hasn't moved a little bit?
Very little. I still see the same issues being discussed today. Major Donald Kehoe was talking about disclosure. In the book Flying Saucer Conspiracy in the mid-1950s, I don't see that what he says in that book is all that much different, except he focused more on military cases. That's one thing about Kehoe. Because of his background, he was focusing on cases that he got from his military contacts. Today, of course, there's no Project Blue Book, and most of the cases we hear about are civilian cases, except occasionally maybe an airliner-based case. Now it's civilian, then it was military, but again, that was in the orientation of the presenter. And the same was true, of course, with the books from Edward J. Ruppelt. There was the original book and a slight update with 3 more chapters. That was very controversial, but that's more than we want to get into. We have Paul Budding, and he's associated with an organization he set up about UFOs called the Serious New UFOlogy Institute. I'm Gene Steinberg. The co-host is Chris O'Brien. You're in
the Paracast.
Have you been sitting on a few great domain name ideas but haven't locked them in for yourself? Good. Now you can buy them through the #1 domain name registrar, Namecheap.com, as voted by the top tech blog Lifehacker. Just like the name says, you can buy domains cheap, as low as $2.99. And every new domain comes with WhoIsGuard, our special privacy service, free for the first year. Now that you know, it's time to grab those domain names before someone else does. Namecheap.com. Go now. Namecheap.com.
Fate magazine provides true reports of the strange and unknown. Keep up with the latest on angels and miracles, psychic phenomena, ghosts, UFOs, life after death, and much, much more. To receive your free issue of Fate magazine, call now at 1-800-728-2730 or visit their website at www.fatemag.com. That's 1-800-728-2730. What are you waiting for? Your fate awaits.
Gold isn't for you? Ted Anderson, president of Midas Resources, one of the world's premier gold and precious metal investing firms. I get it. You wouldn't buy gold if you believed that the government is doing a great job, that the Fed will stop handing out trillions of dollars like bailout candy, that Social Security would be there for you. That's not what's happening. You might even pass on gold if the stimulus package wouldn't fuel inflation, or that the dollar wouldn't lose value, or that your retirement would be secure. If all looks rosy to you, then now is not the time to buy gold. For the realist, there have never been more sobering reasons to diversify with gold. Since 2001, the U.S. dollar index has tanked 30% while gold has risen 300%. Right now, savvy investors are adding gold to their portfolios. You should too. Find out what they know. Call us and I'll send you 10 reasons why gold will do very well, free. 800-686-2237. 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237.
Local Army Navy surplus stores are hard to find these days, but not military issue supplies. They're right here online at mainmilitary.com. That's right, just like the state, M-A-I-N-E, military.com. We have everything for true total preparedness. Mainmilitary.com is not a typical website. It has much more than your old surplus store. Quality military-issue survival gear like canteens, mess kits, utensils, gas masks, filters, and chemical suits. Magnesium fire-starting tools, strike anywhere, waterproof, and storm matches. First aid kits, splints, tourniquets, parachute 550 cord, military manuals, sandbags by the bale, and a huge Molly assortment of vests and pouches for every need. Call 207-989-6783, 207-989-6783, or visit mainmilitary.com. That's M-A-I-N-E military.com, the Maine name in military supply.
If you drive for a living, you don't get paid to stop or wait in line. Keep your wheels moving with pre-pass. Bypass way stations, fly-by port of entry facilities. Stay moving at highway speed while the guy without pre-pass waits in line. Save time, save money. Call 888-401-PASS to try pre-pass free. That's 888-401-PASS.
What's cooking at PrizeKitchen.com? Plenty! Low prices on your favorite kitchen brand appliances, Vitamix blenders, Omega juicers, reverse osmosis systems, and more. Plus, free shipping on it all. PrizeKitchen.com gives your family the tools for a healthy lifestyle by eating more fruits and veggies and drinking pure water. Go to PrizeKitchen.com. Great selection, low prices, free shipping. PrizeKitchen.com. We help make healthy lifestyles convenient.
The GCN Radio Network, providing the world with hard-hitting talk radio. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
We want to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And if you want to catch up on past episodes, we have hundreds of shows for you to download direct from theparacast.com. That's theparacast.com. Or check us out on iTunes.
We're back with Paul Budding, and his organization's called the Serious New UFOlogy Institute. You're talking with Gene and Chris. Paul, just a question. Your institute, is this just you, or do you have an organization behind you?
My idea, and there's someone called Nathan Wozniak, he's Canadian, and he's the technical brains behind it, setting it up on the online, and we're hoping to progress from there. He's managed to get it online, and we've got a few papers on there, but it's very early stages, but we've made a start, so that's good.
Well, we'll have to get a banner up so people know exactly where to go to find out more and read your papers. Again, that's how I first became aware of you. Is I think Patrick Weege at The Anomalist may have posted a little notice about your paper, and I immediately said, "Hey, Gene, we got to get Paul on the show and kick around some of these ideas and try to move this whole morass forward down the road a little bit."
Needs a little bit of fixing. The morass is just getting worse. We were talking before you came on, Paul, about an incident which I'm not going to repeat in great detail about a longtime UFO investigator who had phony educational and perhaps military credentials. And that's, of course, an issue that has always confronted us in this field. So many people come around, and maybe it's a small percentage of the whole, but we just hear about them more. They come around, they make fake claims. They have fake credentials. So how, in your opinion, Paul, do we deal with the frauds?
Spank them.
With people who...
Excuse me. There we go.
With people who are claiming to be researchers and claiming to have seen things.
More claiming to be a doctor, claiming to have certain educational credentials. People like that, and you check it out and you find out they didn't.
Yeah. How can you take any of their work seriously?
Well, yeah, exactly. You can all you can do with that is ignore them.
Hope they go away.
Yes,
Okay,
definitely.
but you have the web presence, Paul. Do you hope to put together a group of investigators to go through the information we have and try to present findings and such? Where is your end game here?
Oh, I don't think I've got an end game. It's just that people can come on, and as long as they're roughly, just vaguely think that I've got a point about needing to move it past accumulating cases, and as long as they've got something to say, something that might be able to contribute, then I think it's worthwhile listening to anyone, basically, as long as they can. I'd say if they could write a paper, that would be ideal. Just you can't tell people to come up with the exact answer, because that's too unrealistic.
Well, is that also the other issue here? Maybe it is that we have to find ways to take what's there, that we have the evidence. It's all out there. And it's not just Roswell, New Mexico in 1947 or something. There is enough information out there today that if there were no more UFO sightings, we'd still be able to do investigations.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder what people are wanting. I think some people, it's clear they want disclosure from the American president, but I think that some people maybe think that that's not necessary, that they can put this all together themselves. Now, I go so far with that argument, but I stop short of saying they are ET, they are time travelers, they're interdimensional, they come from some secret government. But I can get so far, therefore, because I think that they are intelligently controlled craft. They don't say anything about the beings or anything like that, or if it's artificial intelligence. Somebody I know who believes that theory to a certain extent, but isn't certain. So I see anomalies within anomalies, and I think that some of the anomalies are the best cases. And the Congress lights is a very, very good one. I cannot explain that. And actually, Nick Cook, who we've been saying goes on about a human explanation, largely an American explanation, I think. Even he, when he did a Channel 5 documentary on British television, at the end of it, he purposely contradicted himself, showed the footage from the Congress lights and said, I must admit I cannot explain this within my theory. So even he, at least at the time he made that programme, could see something that contradicted his own theory and was unexplainable. So,
well, maybe they are collective manifestations of mandala images flitting around just to play with our heads. Maybe Jung was right. I still want to move this ball down the field. What's the best way to do that? I've been championing out-of-the-box thinking ever since I became involved in this field almost 20 years ago now, and it's really difficult. I think I should kind of stress this point. It's very difficult in a field that has no real credentialing process to sometimes wade through a lot of the noise and try to identify that signal within the noise. And especially now with digital, Photoshop and other After Effects and other digital imaging programs, we're getting more and more hoaxes. More people are willing to spend time to try to fool everyone else into believing that their little art project is reality. And do you think that we should try to organize ourselves somehow? I think Leslie Keene brought this up in her book about some sort of organization that would be tasked with investigating the better cases and trying to weed out the signal from all that noise. What sort of approach? In a sort of a tangible, realistic way. I mean, what sort of approach would you envision? Let's say you had an unlimited budget, and they said, Paul, how would you spend X amount of dollars to accomplish your goal of trying to ascertain what we are dealing with? What would you do?
Well, I think that it's a shame that more of the top scientists aren't interested in it, because that would help, because people naturally project onto them sort of professionalism, authority, knowledge. I mean, people accept gravity and what have you, not just because it's real, it's because people have said it's so, it's Newton's law and everything. And I think it just feeds down eventually. I think the more people like that, top scientists who say things, that's why I mentioned Taku before, then the more people will feel it's okay, it's agreeable, it's familiar, it's consensual. But the UFO phenomenon, as it's always been, as it is now, is nothing like that. And that's a big problem. So I think that would be my answer to that question. But you cannot force these people to give up their well-paid careers to look into a topic that they don't want to. So I think that's a difficult one to overcome.
So you're talking about getting legitimate science involved directly. Well, if we can't get the top dogs, maybe we can get their research assistants or their graduate students or something. Interest some of those. I think
we sometimes think that the research assistants are the ones who do really all the work.
Yeah,
that's probably true.
It might be true, but I'm just saying what would help for the masses to be convinced. So I'm not saying that other people can't do a good job, but nevertheless they might find it harder, if not impossible, to convince.
I'll tell you what, we have to convince our benefactors of a few things, so we're talking to Paul Budding. I'm Gene Steinberg. The co-host is Chris O'Brien. You're in
the Paracast.
Ray Perkins, a reclusive veteran burned out from the Gulf War, lives tortured by relentless, perplexing nightmares. Nightmares of a horrific battle in deep space and of a mysterious woman suffering in agony for her devastated world. A woman not yet born, calling across centuries to him. Then, a coincidence leads him to his destiny, his chance to alter the universe. Attack of the Rockoids. The former fiction editor for Star Wars and Indiana Jones, Robert Simpson, writes, "The soul of the novel Attack of the Rockoids lies in its heart and passion for building a convincing tale of a love that spans the galaxy. A thrilling story. Attack of the Rockoids is available now. Read a sample chapter and get a special discount off of the cover price at our website, rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com. Attack of the Rockoids, a novel in the grand science fiction tradition."
Are you still a traditional smoker? Now experience a new lifestyle and try vaping with e-cigarettes by LeSig. Imagine no ashes, stains, nasty smell, or coughing and hacking. With LeSig e-cigarettes' revolutionary microelectronic technology, rechargeable battery, and unique replaceable cartridge, you'll get all the benefits and satisfaction of smoking without the hazards. Choose your taste from a wide variety of our new American-made Vaporeon e-liquids at LeSig.com. And LeSig smokes the competition by serving thousands of worldwide customers with real people customer service, fast, free, same-day shipping, and a 30-day warranty and satisfaction guarantee. So are you ready for a new vaping lifestyle? Then call 870-518-4307. That's 870-518-4307. Or visit LeSig.com, spelled LECIG.com. LeSig e-cigarettes for today's modern smoker.
Is your church, school, or organization desperately looking for new fundraising ideas? Tired of the same old candles or candy, taking orders, inventory, and low profits? Well, here's great news. 10X Fundraising guarantees 10 times traditional profits with zero hassle. For an amazing free bonus, free shipping, and an extra 10% off, enter GCN when you go to 10xfundraising.com. That's the number 10, the letter X, fundraising.com. Or call 800-480-8797. Visit 10X Fundraising for 10 times the profit today.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
The food storage industry leader has done it again. Introducing FDG Clubs and Survival Bucks from the Freeze Dry Guy. For over 39 years, the Freeze Dry Guy has served various government agencies and the private sector with the finest in storable foods and emergency rations. If you've wanted to build emergency food supplies but couldn't afford it, now you can. Go to freezedryguy.com, click on products, and look for the Freeze Dry Guy Clubs to pay as you go. Now you can build food storage without going into debt. Choose from a payment range of $95 to $450 per month. Our clubs work with everyone's budget. Plus, when you join Freeze Dry Guy Clubs, you'll get additional rewards. For example, this month, get 10% back in Survival Bucks on all purchases in the Freeze Dry Guy product line, plus free shipping within the lower 48 states on any order amount. Hurry, go to freezedryguy.com or call 866-404-3663. That's freezedryguy.com or call 866-404-3663. The Freeze Dry Guy, the best you can buy.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
This is Jim Mosley, editor of Saucer Smear, and I'm here to say a good word or two about the Paracast, which I believe is the gold standard of paranormal radio. Listen to it if you can.
We're back with Paul Budding, UFO investigator, looking at the new ufology, trying to get things together with Gene and Chris on the Paracast this week. Chris, maybe we could segue into some of the questions we have from our audience in the Paracast forums.
I think we had a lot of people scratching their heads because we only got really one question, which is highly unusual for the show. I think the whole idea of someone who's a student of Jung's psychology might have been a little daunting for some of our forum posters. We do have quite an extensive forum at forum.theparacast.com with thousands and thousands of participants.
Here's what we do when we know we have a guest scheduled. What we try to do is put something in our forums in a folder or thread called the Question Bank. So if you go to forum.theparacast.com, forum.theparacast.com, you sign up. It costs nothing to sign up. You just have to agree to be a mensch. It's free. You don't get bombarded by emails. I think the worst we do is we send out a reminder every 45 to 60 days saying, gee, you haven't posted anything. Wouldn't you like to do that? That's about as bad as we get, about as obnoxious as we get. So we set up these threads where you can post questions to forthcoming guests. Now, some have asked, why don't we do this on the telephone, which we're capable of doing? And I think the problem with that is it restricts us in scheduling, because then we'd have to do the show live, and the guests would have to be here at that particular point in time, which may work for a daily show, but not necessarily for a weekly show. So we have the flexibility this way. And also, you know, when you take phone calls, it's harder then to screen the calls. You get occasionally a few wackos. Again, it's good for a daily show. I don't think so much as a weekly show. Chris, you have that stuff?
I do.
Okay.
This comes from Boomerang, who's a fairly new member of the forum. He joined here in January. And he has two questions, one of which I think we've kind of addressed a little bit, but I'll go ahead and ask it as the first question. What's the difference between Carl Jung's concept of UFOs as psychic projections versus common hallucinations? It's a bit of a softball question, but I'll ask it.
Well, the projections, it's sort of like, it's not a hallucination. You don't have to actually, I mean, you see the UFO in the sky, so it is there, it's an unidentified flying object, but then you project onto it what you think it is. Also, you project an emotion attached to it, so it fixes in your head, like, you really like the image. So you project fascination and awe onto it, mystery. You did see something, Whereas with an hallucination, you didn't really see it. So that's the answer to that.
Okay, so let me try to help define this a bit better, Paul. All right, so if you see something that's a projection, is your mind coloring that image so you're not seeing what's there, you're seeing what you expect to be there, what you believe will be there?
Maybe it's what you want to be there, and also there's a cultural factor, so that all fits in with UFOs.
Now, I think when I hear this about the movie Contact with Jodie Foster, plays this astronomer who meets E.T. towards the end of the film, but E.T. comes in the form of her late father. And E.T. says, well, you wouldn't be able to accept what we really look like, so we're coming here and we are presenting ourselves in a way that you understand. So the question would be then, do we imagine UFOs to be something other than they are, or do they, assuming there is a they, make themselves to be something other than they are?
That goes beyond the sort of psychology that I look into. It goes beyond the projection side of it. If they're changing themselves into something that they are not, or that they can just change themselves into, and that's like really paranormal, and from our perspective in early 21st century Western world, that would be something for the science fiction fans, I think, to look into. Which, although I'm not slagging that off, because science fiction often becomes science fact.
Well, every time you look at the Star Trek communicator and you think of the clamshell cell phone, or that little handheld device in Star Trek Next Generation in the 1980s, and the iPad.
Right.
Yeah, science fiction comes science fact. I've got a friend who's very interested in the singularity, very interested, Kurzweil's singularity theory. But to go back to the point you were saying before about what we should do to get ufology moving, to get it advancing, and I mentioned about scientists. One of the things that scientists really would like to see, I think, those who would be willing to take an interest in it, is an agnostic position on what actually it is. I think when they view the field as already made their mind up about the ET hypothesis.
Right.
I think that puts a lot of them off. Because I like to be objective.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And plus, it's the replication of data. It's a repeatability factor, too. If you can't repeat something and show that your hypothesis is correct and then have other people be able to do it, scientists tend to get bored real fast, and they don't tend to pay attention like maybe they should. I think by getting scientists involved, I think one of the things that you're hinting at here, but you didn't really say overtly, is that there is a certain amount of credibility that does go along with world-class scientists getting involved in any field of endeavor. It definitely it brings a kind of a sense of gravitas to the subject that it might not have if they weren't involved. So I think one of the things that has really been a major stumbling block, as you've just brought up, is this reliance on the ETH. And that goes back to one of my early questions about the role of the media. I think the media has been involved in really perpetuating this one-size-fits-all theory. And, it makes me not want to watch these shows because it gets pretty old seeing this trotted out time and time again. Of course, as many of the listeners know, I'm more of a person that's more into outside of the box thinkers like John Keel, Jacques Vallée, and to a lesser degree, people like Paul Devereaux, who wants to factor in the whole idea of maybe some sort of as yet undefined natural phenomena, maybe involve Trevor James Constable and his idea of sky critters, that maybe we're dealing with some sort of life form that can manifest in a variety of ways. These are potential explanations I feel deserve at least some sort of looking at, and I think that there's a lot of creative ways to approach this whole subject that really are not getting their due in the media. And I think the media is too involved in entertaining people and sort of spoon-feeding them what they think they want to hear. And I think that that's self-defeating. It gets into a feedback loop that does not move the field forward, and I think 64 years have proven that. And, it's unfortunate, but people like yourself who are attempting to look at this in new and different ways, I think this is a really good indication to me that there is hope. You're not an old fogey like Gene and me. You're younger
Speak for
than
yourself,
we are.
Chris. I'm as old as the hills, and I was here before the hills. Before
Well, I
they
don't
were
think
alive with the sound
Paul is
of
not
music.
over. I'd be surprised if you were over 40. We're both over 50, so we're in the next. Huh?
37.
37. Good.
A
Good.
babe
So we
in
need
arms.
more young blood and young bucks in the field here. Pushing us old fogies to start thinking a little bit more creatively and outside of the box. Here's part
Just
two.
when you were saying what doesn't help, I was thinking the British tabloids won't help much, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Oh boy, don't go there.
And on the psychology side, I'm linking it to scientists. You know about the Milgram experiment all them years back in America. That shows how much people, respect scientists' views. So that's
Yeah.
just, you know, my argument.
Sometimes scientists can get a little outside of themselves, or they're only human.
And we'll
But,
get into more about the human scientists, or maybe the non-human scientists that are coming here, if there are such things, and lots more. Paul Budding's our guest. I'm Gene Steinberg. The co-host is Chris O'Brien. You're in
the Paracast.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database. You get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter, and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code Night Owl. Use the coupon code Night Owl to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's Lemke soft.com. Lemkesoft.com. Lemke soft.com.
The largest part of gaining radiant health is detoxification. You can drink ionized water, cleanse your intestines, eat a perfect diet, and even take lots of quality supplements, and in many instances only make minimal progress. What is the key to detoxifying your body of mercury, heavy metals, chemicals, and drugs? It is glutathione. Glutathione is the master antioxidant used to detoxify your entire body. It stops free radicals, keeps cells young, and reduces inflammation. One World Whey protein powder may be able to raise your glutathione production by 64% or more. One World Whey is more effective than any other whey protein powder on the market because it is unheated and from grass-fed cows. All other, quote, cold-processed whey protein powders have been heated and damaged by 15% or more. One World Whey comes in 3 delicious flavors. Call 888-988-3325. That's 888-988-3325. Or visit oneworldwhey.com. That's oneworld.com.
Are you tired of spending money for metal canning lids year after year? Then stop. Stop buying metal lids and get Tatler reusable canning lids. Made of USDA and FDA approved food grade plastic, Tatler canning lids let you safely store emergency preparedness foods for years. Traditional metal lids are single use throwaways that contain BPA, but Tatler canning lids are indefinitely reusable and guaranteed to last a lifetime when used as designed for home canning and contain no BPA. Tatler lids are dishwasher safe, perfect for standard pressure or water bath canning, eliminate food spoilage from acid corrosion, fit standard mason jars, and are proudly made in the USA. Place orders by phone at 877-747-2793 or go to reusablecanninglids.com. That's 1-877-747-2793 or go to reusablecanninglids.com. That's reusablecanninglids.com. Tatler Reusable Canning Lids, the original since 1976.
We all know that Berkey water purification systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 6 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey water filtration systems. The Berkey Light systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light system today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $231, and the Berkey Guy will ship your order free of charge. With the purchase of a Berkey Light, the Berkey Guy is also offering a set of fluoride and arsenic filters for only $39.99. That's over 30% off the retail price. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at GoBerkey.com. That's GoBerkey.com today.
Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Hello, this is John Burroughs, one of the witnesses to the Rendlesham UFO incident. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
We're back with Paul Budding. We're exploring the new ufology, myth or not. We'll have to see. Chris O'Brien's the co-host. I'm Gene Steinberg. That question we started long, long ago in a galaxy far, far away or a dimensional reality from Boomerang, was there more to it than that?
There was a second part, which is pretty interesting. Now, this shows creative thinking. Is it true that Jung came to believe that instead of us imagining the consciousness behind UFOs, the consciousness was imagining us?
I know. You're getting that from Memories, Dreams, Reflections, yeah. He says that in Memories, Dreams, Reflections towards the end, yeah. Is that where you got that quote from?
Well, it's just a question from one of our forum posts.
Well, Jung did say that. He says a lot, though, so...
Yeah.
That's where
we're the UFOs in their reality, in other words.
Yeah, your listener has hit the nail on the head in the sense that he's right that Jung said that in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, his autobiography.
I like that.
Jung, though, if you want the answer I think Jung would want to hear, he would say that his work that he wants people to read is his collected works. He was very strict about that for some reason. And Memories, Dreams, Reflections was like more populist, I suppose he would say. Nevertheless, you might argue, you might say, well, if he doesn't think it, why say it? But nevertheless, it's his collective works that he always says he wants to be remembered by. I mean, in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, he does go to town. He really goes a lot at his most paranormal experiences, his experiences of ghosts, dreams that came true, precognition, synchronicity, telepathy. And, yeah, he mentions the UFO phenomenon in there as well. But, yeah, you listen.
One issue that follows, Paul, is that how do you sell this to the public? I mean, this is always part of the problem, conveying very complicated information to people who are not college graduates or their graduate degrees are in subjects other than psychology and stuff like that. So I guess we look at E.T. and those who believe in UFOs, a lot of them accept E.T. because it is a concept that's easy for us to swallow.
Convenient.
It's convenient. Our culture is formed that way. But when you take stuff from a Jacques Vallée or John Keel or Carl Jung and you start talking about collective unconscious and ultra-terrestrials and dimensional portals and all this stuff, it gets to be something that causes your eyes to glaze over. So I guess the other part of the question that I would put into this is, how do you convey this in a way, not dumbing it down, but just making it understandable? How do you take something, Paul, real complicated or obscure and get people psyched about it?
I think that some people have a knack for that. I'm not sure if Jung was the first person that come to mind to that, but Kaku is someone who is really good at using, he's got this theoretical physicist scientist head, yet he so easily communicates to the masses on the scientific theories that are very complicated, and he manages to put it across in such a way as you want to watch the show, and many people who don't have a clue about physics probably like him, and many people who are top physicists probably like to talk to him as well. So I think that you need people who can communicate like that, definitely.
Yeah, take complex subjects and present them in an easy to understand manner. Yeah, his books are written like that too. His books are very good in that regard.
Politicians like to have that gift, don't they? So,
well, the problem with politicians, though, it bothers me, is there's so much steeped in sound bites. They say, well, of course, the TV networks, the cable news shows, they want to get 5 or 10 seconds, pithy comments. And so they will basically figure out the best way to present that comment. Doesn't matter, it has nothing to do with the issue under question. They have to have it distilled into that 5, 10, 20 words. And how do you do that with UFOs beyond spaceships and that sort of thing?
Well, that's a good question again. Like you said, like I said, some people have this gift to do it and others don't. I mean, it happens in every field. In singularity, Kurzweil's a genius, but maybe someone could be better at communicating the thoughts than he is. And it's the same in ufology. I'm not sure who you'd say would be the best at communicating in the UFO field. Do you have any ideas yourselves on that one?
Well, Stanton Friedman has had so much experience that he's very good at it. I tend to disagree with a lot of his conclusions, but he does have a way of very effectively, in an easy to understand manner, present his ideas and his information. He would be a good model.
I wish his name had come to my head now. That's a good answer.
But again,
well, there's others too. Richard Dolan's very good.
Yeah, well, the thing is, of course, Chris, is that someone like a Stanton Friedman is still steeped in E.T.
Yeah,
okay, we're in the galactic neighborhood, and they're doing this, and they're doing that, and they think that we're a bunch of primitive fools. And it's a very elementary expression of
I said I didn't agree with his conclusions, but he's very good at stating the position.
I think we all agree on this then, because I agree that he's a good communicator, but I don't like his certainty about the F hypothesis, the ET controlled nuts and bolts craft from other planets. So I think we all agree on that one.
I also wonder if some researchers do it that way, not because they necessarily harbor those beliefs, but because it's the best way to sell the subject.
Give the people what they want.
Or give them what they need in order to get them interested, and then you hopefully can take them to the next level, which is, of course, what it's all about. How do we move them to the next level?
Well, all I've been doing is saying that we've got the accumulated cases, there's many of them, and now we've got to think about what are these craft, and then if we can decide that, then we can move on to questions of why they're coming here and what have you. But at the minute, we don't know whether they're artificial intelligence, secret human, time travelers, ET, and it's precisely this agnosticism that's necessary for science to be interested. So although it sounds like a bad position to take because you're not reaching a definite conclusion, I think it's the best position to be in right now. And then scientists might get involved, like Kaku's impressed with Keane. And I think Leslie Keane, if I'm right, doesn't come to a conclusion, does she, about what it is that these craft are. She just says that they are unknown, intelligently controlled craft.
Well, even that's making an assumption.
Yeah, and she does kind of lean, I think, towards the ETH, although not overtly. But, well, to answer my question, which is the one that Gene kind of restated, I think hard data monitoring is the only way that we're really going to take this field further in the manner that you suggest. And that would be identifying areas that have a preponderance of activity, and it tends to ebb and flow more frequently. Just get all your sensing equipment, your triangulated camera arrays, and your trained and vetted sky watchers and a network of people that are going to jump up if a sighting occurs and your monitoring equipment starts getting data. Having people go out and get footage from different angles, let's say. And once you can triangulate on a particular event visually, possibly with a radar unit or a magnetometer or gravimeter, then you're going to have the kind of data that a scientist would go, that's interesting. What do we have here? Lights in the sky, people out partying in some lover's lane, seeing something fly by and they get a cell phone camera. A scientist isn't going to take that seriously. But if you have a very strict set of protocols, a very intelligently designed scientific program in place, I think that is the quickest and easiest way to get scientific acceptance and involvement in studying this. And, of course, you have that stumbling block, which I'm currently having to deal with, and that is getting the funding to put together a program like this. For your information, Paul, I am attempting to do exactly what I described in the San Luis Valley, where I still investigate for almost 20 years now. And because the technology has advanced to a point where the cost points are down, I think it's actually doable now. For about $100,000, you can have a state-of-the-art almost monitoring program set up in a hotspot area like the San Luis Valley or places all over the world that this could be a turnkey system that could be dispatched and set up anywhere. So sort of to answer my own question, that would be my suggestion. Instead of filing all this, the National UFO Reporting Service, sure, the ebb and flowing of reports is important to some degree, but it sure hasn't helped us move forward in the last 64 years. I think with the release of documents and good physical trace cases, for instance, have done more to move the field forward really than anything else. So
we have to move forward. Paul Budding's the guest. Chris O'Brien's the co-host. I'm Gene Steinberg. You're in
the Paracast.
Hi, Ted Anderson announcing a great way to listen to radio on the telephone. By calling 760-569-7700, you'll be hearing GCNlive.com programs in seconds. Come to GCNlive.com, find your favorite host's dedicated phone number, and hear them 24/7. You heard me right. Every show has a dedicated phone number. Stop by GCNlive.com and bookmark their number today. And again, that's 760-569-7700. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
We progress to the final hour of the Paracast with Gene and Chris. Paul Budding, a new voice on the UFO scene, but obviously he's done a lot of research. Paul, just a quick question as we go on here. Personally, do you personally buy E.T. as the final answer for UFOs?
No, just a possibility. I was actually itching to come on to that sort of question, because I was wanting to say that the agnostic position isn't like a defeatist or a giving up position. It's getting us away from the E.T. living myth hypothesis. It's getting away from that projection of fascination and all, and thinking the E.T. must be the answer because that's what we want to believe and what have you. And I think the agnostic position, at least, although it's not the fantastic answer to it, which would obviously be infinitely better than anything else, but it's a realistic position, and it's the one that is more scientifically credible, I think, taking us away from the living myth, as we called it in the paper.
Sounded like a no, Gene.
Well, it's a possibility.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being agnostic about the whole thing, because I think maybe one of the biggest problems we find in the UFO field is the fact that we go into it with expectations. We're looking for E.T., let's validate it, and if we can sit back and go back and take a step away and say, we don't know what's going on, let's start from scratch and try to figure out what's going on, and if it's E.T., so be it. If it's not E.T., well, we'll look at what it might be.
And it's the problem is I think it's good to distinguish from people who are just interested in the fascination of the issue. It's people who are wanting to be objective about it. And moreover, it's not agnosticism concerning is something out there. I'm pretty confident that there's something out there that's seen that's intelligent craft. It's agnosticism about what it is. So that's a crucial distinction to make.
Yeah, you're agnostic about jumping to conclusions about what intelligence may be behind it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of, I think, sightings that are misconstrued as something intelligently controlled, possibly mechanical in nature, especially at night when you have craft that are lighted up. And, of course, my question's always been, why do they have to turn lights on, light themselves up like a Christmas tree and go sailing over the countryside? That's never really made much sense to me. But, of course, there is an answer to that. If there is some sort of plasma cloud around it, it's going to be giving off some sort of light. So that could be one possible explanation. But I think most people, when they see something that they can't explain, I think that they, as you pointed out earlier, they tend to put the details of it into the experience and their memory of it based on their expectations and based on their unwillingness to suspend their disbelief in many ways and just jump to a particular conclusion instead of being agnostic about it. But again, we're kind of going around in circles here. I think hard data monitoring is the way to move this field forward, getting some people that are in a position to fund projects such as this, get them involved, get them excited, invigorated by the possibility of discovery, and move forward and start collecting real hard scientific data, because the only way you're going to get scientists involved is if they have quality data that they can rely on to work with. So I think that is really important. Let's figure out what it is, as you point out in your paper, before we try to jump ahead and figure out who it is, what is behind the actual mystery. I'm off my soapbox now, Gene.
That's okay. So what's your response to that, Paul?
I don't disagree with anything I heard there. I also think, I was going to add before, that I think politicians would be forced to show the field respect if the field could show its difference from the myth, the living myth. But this would need serious physicists and technologists and so forth. They would need to come forward. And like I was saying before, people, not just the very top ones like Kaku, but people surrounding him that we haven't heard of. That sort of caliber people to come forward to endorse it. And I think politicians would follow more the scientists. But at the moment...
Right. It's too toxic for politicians to address. Look what happened to Dennis Kucinich in the 2008 election when he was at the debates, and it had come out that, I think, who was it, Shirley MacLaine, Gene, that mentioned that Dennis Kucinich had a sighting, and I think it was... Chris Matthews popped a question at one of the debates, and everybody had a nice little chuckle at his expense. I think it's too toxic. It's a low-status subject. Anyone that professes interest in this subject, I think politically, in a political arena, is really setting themselves up for a fall.
Yeah, so I think that politicians can't and won't come on to endorsing this subject until it gets scientific credibility.
That's why, for example, you won't have a situation like with Dennis Kucinich. He's thought of as being a crackpot anyway, even though, he has a lot of things to say that a lot of people agree with. But they think of him as a crank, so they think of him as a crank, well, okay, so Shirley MacLaine is a bigger crank. There you go.
Right.
Canadian
the crank factor.
There's a Canadian ex-defence minister's come out in favour of UFOs, isn't there?
Yeah, and Paul Hellyer. Mm-hmm. He has. Of course, it's ET.
Very few and far between. Not very many.
Yeah. Ronald Reagan was very interested in the subject privately. Bill Clinton's very interested in the subject privately. Of course, Jimmy Carter actually came out publicly and professed an interest in the subject. Of course, as soon as he was elected, that he did an abrupt about-face on that one.
Isn't that the way it always goes?
It's a problem with politicians, though. I mean, in the UK, I can't think of any.
Right. Yep, that's true. You're not going to get your average politician. I think the 10-foot pole that they're holding wouldn't even touch the subject, actually. It's toxic. Professing belief in a low-status subject like this is political suicide, and it's going to take a landing on the White House lawn to change minds and kind of make that a moot point, if you will.
Well,
why should they land on the White House lawn?
Well, my answer is
I don't think that's going to happen.
More scientific credibility would help, but like I was saying earlier, I think that the disclosure idea is a non-starter because they don't want to admit that they're important here. They don't want to admit they're clueless about what these craft are, and at the same time have to admit what they have been doing regarding the nuclear facilities, regarding invading US airspace and over Congress in the 50s. All this doesn't make any sense to admit that. So politicians that do see what's going on to a certain extent are still not able to come out and say anything about it.
Claiborne Pell was one that professed an interest in this subject privately, and I think C.B. Scott Jones, his I think ex-naval intelligence officer who was one of his assistants, was very involved in the subject with the Peter Sturrock symposium, and I think he's working now with Carol Rosin trying to get a weapons space ban for space-based weapons. But it's gonna be a cold day in the Sahara before I think any politician comes out, or like David Wilcock, who's one of our exopolitics tinged guys here in the U.S. He made the big announcement that I think Barack Obama, on what was it, Gene, right around Thanksgiving, he's already bought airtime and all the networks and was going to come out with a hand-in-hand with an alien.
Right, but that's the latest of a long line of theories. We hear that every few months. Well, this president or the previous president or the next one will come out with a statement about UFOs, and this is when it's going to happen. And then it doesn't happen, but you always have the excuse, well, they changed their minds at the last minute. They decided not to have this revelation because of one reason or another, or E.T. phoned them before phoning home and said, hey, folks, you can't do that. We're not going to allow it, so sorry about it. Forget about it. There's always an excuse when it doesn't happen. No excuses. We have Paul Budding on the show. I'm Gene Steinberg. The co-host is Chris O'Brien. You're in
the Paracast.
You expect professional service from your doctor, your accountant, and even the girl who takes your morning coffee order. Why not from your domain registrar, too? Namecheap.com provides stellar service with no sneaky upselling. We offer more features and security options for your website than there are ways to order a latte. And new domains come with a WhoisGuard to protect your personal info. At Namecheap.com, you can get your domain for as low as $2.99. Now is a great time to get to know Namecheap.com.
For 58 years, Fate has provided true reports of the strange and unknown. Fate brings you the latest in all aspects of the paranormal, like angels and miracles, psychic phenomena, ghosts, UFOs, and much, much more. To receive your complimentary Fate magazine, call now at 1-800-728-2730 or visit their website at www.fatemag.com. That's 1-800-728-2730. What are you waiting for? Your fate awaits.
Gold. It's like nothing else on Earth. From the Romans through the Renaissance, from the Industrial Age to the Space Age, gold has weathered the test of time. For 6,000 years, gold has remained the ultimate store of wealth. According to the World Gold Council and the U.S. Mint, demand is at an all-time high. The stage is being set for the reemergence of gold as the common-sense alternative to a fiat paper currency that gets weaker every day. Midas Resources is proud to offer the hard-hitting report that arms you with the truth you need to protect you and your family from the Fed's plans for your hard-earned money. Don't gamble with your future. Call Midas Resources today and ask for your free copy of As Good as Gold. Call 1-800-686-2237 for the report the Fed hopes you'll never see. As Good as Gold can be yours by calling 800-686-2237. If you have ever thought about owning gold, you must read this report. Call Midas today at 800-686-2237.
If you're concerned about radiation poisoning from Japan in the air, water, or food and can't find potassium iodide, go to RestoreYourHealthNow.com and choose Liquid Zeolite. Liquid Zeolite is hands down the best product to remove radiation from your body and safely removes toxins, heavy metals, boosts energy levels, and promotes a strong immune system. For fatigue, muscle weakness, headaches, memory loss, influenza, joint pain, or toxic radiation poisoning, use Liquid Zeolite from RestoreYourHealthNow.com. Liquid Zeolite is so powerful it was used to clean up contamination in Chernobyl, yet so gentle you won't even know you're taking it. Liquid Zeolite comes with a money-back guarantee, but is only available at RestoreYourHealthNow.com. Learn how to get free bottles of Liquid Zeolite at RestoreYourHealthNow.com. That's RestoreYourHealthNow.com or call 800-880-9976. Call 800-880-9976 today and learn how to get free bottles of Liquid Zeolite.
Don't let summer be a bummer. Stop sunburn pain, poison ivy, and mosquito bite itch, and the burn of athlete's foot with just one safe all natural first aid product, Dermatol. Many GCN listeners have already discovered how effective Dermatol is as a natural, non-acidic way to treat cuts, burns, bites, rashes, shingles, boils, and many skin problems. Now this special offer. Buy one bottle of Dermatol, get one bottle free. Call 1-800-217-6677 and mention GCN. Dermatol is the must-have first aid product for your preparedness kit. Made in America by Americans, Dermatol's soothing, rapid restoration of injured skin is so effective it's guaranteed. Call 800-217-6677. That's 800-217-6677 and ask for the GCN Buy One Get One Free special or use coupon code GCN at checkout at DermatolUSA.com. Spelled DermatolUSA.com. Efficient, economical, effective. Spray it all with Dermatol.
The GCN Radio Network, providing the world with hard-hitting talk radio. GCN. Great talk radio starts here.
We want to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com. Get in on all the action at forum.theparacast.com.
Paul Budding about new ufology. We're trying to get things off dead center here. Some people say the UFO field is toxic. I think I've said that, but a lot of people have said that. You're with Gene and Chris on the Paracast. So I'll raise that question. Some people just are so disgusted with the infighting in the UFO field, with the fakers, the frauds, they want to give it all up. Do you think it's all worth it?
Well, it depends on the individual for that one. If they get something out of it, then it is definitely worth it. If they don't get anything out of it, it's not. I mean, when you look at some people, you were mentioning Stanton Friedman, he's been working in the field for decades, yeah? Nick Pope in Britain, not for as long, but since the 90s, he seems to be very happy doing what he does. He goes on all the networks in the US, I think, not just in Britain, around the world, and I think he enjoys it thoroughly. Yeah, I think it's worth it for some people, but if you want a definite answer, maybe not.
Boy, that's hedging your bets there, guy. That was good, though. I like that. Gene, go ahead, ask me that question. You know what my answer would be?
The question is asked. What is your answer?
Hell no. It's not worth it. It is not worth it. That's why I'm got a tar baby stuck to my face.
I think we have you in this chair, and we have the ropes around your neck. And if you give up the UFO field, we will pull the ropes, making them very tight. And soon you will cry, uncle, aunt, sister, brother, let me out of here.
You know what saves me, Gene? I'm an anomalist. I look at all sorts of things, not only UFOs. I cringe when people refer to me as a ufologist, and I very rapidly correct them. You can call me anything you want, even late for dinner. Just don't call me a ufologist.
Interesting question here I'll ask Paul about. Okay, do you have a day job?
A day job? Well, no, I'm a freelance writer, basically. So, is that a day job? If that's a day job, then yes. If it's not, no.
Okay, so you write about stuff other than UFOs?
Yeah, I haven't published books, but there's these two Jungian type book publishers that have advertised in papers I write. So that's my main way of getting income.
Okay, so what got you involved in UFOs, this crazy quilt field?
Yeah, have you ever had a sighting, or are you an experiencer? No. Did E.T. come and visit you in the night, or?
Well, if I take it back to when I was at university studying social science, and I saw Jung's books in the psychology section, bit by bit, looking into his books, it was like a combination of academic, which I was used to, and also that esoteric meaning side of life combined. And I think that the UFO thing that I'm doing now is similar to that. It comes out of that, really. It's like I can focus on it academically. It does also have, even for people who try to be objective about it, that feeling of meaning towards it. It's not entirely divorced. So that's why I got into the UFOs, because it's an interesting topic, basically. Very interesting.
Well, it could be, paradigm shifting, groundbreaking, I mean, if we do finally come up with some answers, which I don't think are going to happen in at least my lifetime, if we do come up with answers at some point, it's going to totally change everything. Could potentially be one of the most important subjects ever addressed by humans, especially if there is some sort of ET presence. Perhaps all these theories may have some truth to them. Perhaps we are dealing with time travelers, dimensional shifters, returning dinosaurs that became spacefaring. Maybe they're coming back and trying to reclaim Earth. There's so many possibilities, and this is such a complicated subject. I would be very surprised if a lot of these things were. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these things were going on simultaneously, and secret black aircraft and collective unconscious projections of mandala images, and it's probably a huge potpourri kind of evil brew, some sort of soup that's bubbling over in a cauldron with all these different elements in it. That's the further along I get, at least in this field. That's I have that suspicion more and more. I'm off my soapbox again.
A lot of them are human technologically controlled. Like, for instance, stealth. That was, well, when did that start? I don't mean when was it open. When was it? When were they secretly flying around the desert somewhere? I think they started in the late 70s or 80s, and it was about a whole decade before they were announced, openly as military craft. So
that's one of the examples I give. Is if you saw a stealth aircraft in the the late 80s, and you had your radio on and you couldn't hear an engine, you saw a UFO.
And there you go. I haven't seen a UFO, so I don't know. Paul, do you think you're going to be doing this 40 years from now? You're 37. When you're 77, you're still here, because people will be living forever when you're 77. Do you expect this will be all solved?
All solved? Probably not.
One could only hope.
Because if the answer was the human technology, then probably not going to ever announce that. So that would be no. But if they're ET, that's probably no as well. So I'm very sceptical about it being solved in that sense. The best hope is not for disclosure from the president, though. It's from people like yourselves and others who might potentially be interested in this subject, realising there is something to it, and then looking into it themselves. And I think it coming from the ground up. I don't think it's a top-down solution. Not a top-down meaning, not top-down from the president to the public. I don't think it'll get solved that way. So on reflection to the question you asked, I've slightly changed it to if it was solved, it would be from the bottom up, from the public seeing that there is something to it. I mean, you need more people involved who are like Richard Dolan and so on. I mean, he spoke at Leeds Metropolitan University, which is very close to where I live, and I didn't realise that they would allow someone to come in and talk so openly about UFOs. I didn't think that would happen around here. So I don't know if it's progress. I might be exaggerating there. Maybe it would have happened 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But as far as I'm concerned, that was a first for me.
No, that's progress.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for US universities. You might have had ufologists coming in for years speaking there, but I was surprised, and I wasn't there or anything. I just saw it on YouTube.
Well, what are some of the theories that you've kind of pondered and possibly even researched? I mean, do you have any pet theories that may be more of the exotic pet theories as opposed to black projects or manifested psychisms?
A friend of mine's tried to convince me of artificial intelligence, combining it with a singularity theory of Ray Kurzweil, saying that these on other planets there'll be beings, far ahead of us or what have you, who would have artificial intelligence by now. And so these aren't ETs, biological beings coming down all squishy. They're actually robots. It sounds just as bizarre as the original theory, though, doesn't it? That's the problem. I mean,
it actually makes more sense to me.
I'll tell you what makes sense, that we're talking to Paul Budding. I'm Gene Steinberg. The co-host is Chris O'Brien. You're in
the Paracast.
Graphic Converter is the image manipulation tool for the rest of us. It does not use any database, so you get full control of all your files. Want to view the images of a folder? Drag it into Graphic Converter, and a powerful browser opens up to show your image files. You could use it for slideshows. You could use it to import images from digital cameras or from scanners. Need to do some image editing? You can do that too in Graphic Converter. Also print catalogs. Convert from so many formats I can't even list them. Download now to see if Graphic Converter is good for you, like 1.5 million other users. Guess what? You could save money when you buy Graphic Converter. Use the coupon code Night Owl. Use the coupon code Night Owl to get a special price for Graphic Converter. Go to lemkesoft.com. That's LEMKE soft.com. Lemkesoft.com. LEMKE soft.com.
Local Army Navy surplus stores are hard to find these days, but not military issue supplies. They're right here online at mainmilitary.com. That's right, just like the state, M-A-I-N-E, military.com. We have everything for true total preparedness. Mainmilitary.com is not a typical website. It has much more than your old surplus store. Quality military-issue survival gear like canteens, mess kits, utensils, gas masks, filters, and chemical suits. Magnesium fire-starting tools, strike anywhere, waterproof, and storm matches. First aid kits, splints, tourniquets, parachute 550 cord, military manuals, sandbags by the bale, and a huge Molly assortment of vests and pouches for every need. Call 207-989-6783, 207-989-6783, or visit mainmilitary.com. That's M-A-I-N-E military.com, the main name in military supply.
If you drive for a living, you don't get paid to stop or wait in line. Keep your wheels moving with Pre-Pass. Bypass way stations, fly-by port of entry facilities. Stay moving at highway speed while the guy without Pre-Pass waits in line. Save time, save money. Call 888-401-PASS to try Pre-Pass free. That's 888-401-PASS.
What's cooking at PrizeKitchen.com? Plenty! Low prices on your favorite kitchen brand appliances, Vitamix blenders, Omega juicers, reverse osmosis systems, and more. Plus, free shipping on it all. PrizeKitchen.com gives your family the tools for a healthy lifestyle by eating more fruits and veggies and drinking pure water. Go to PrizeKitchen.com. Great selection, low prices, free shipping. PrizeKitchen.com. We help make healthy lifestyles convenient.
You've heard a lot lately about zeolite, but what is it and why do you need it? Zeolite is a beautiful, complex crystalline structure that encapsulates radiation and odors. ZeoKing zeolite naturally eliminates radiation poisoning your body may pick up from X-rays, security scanners, or nuclear fallout. ZeoKing flushes environmental toxins absorbed from smoke, cell phones, and chemicals, so it detoxifies heavy metals including mercury, lead, and cadmium. ZeoKing zeolite helps boost your immune system, allowing your body to balance itself and cut off food supply to cancer and parasites. Order your ZeoKing zeolite now from ZeoKing.com for only $39.99 and receive a free month supply with every order. Call 888-402-6779. That's 888-402-6779. Or visit ZeoKing.com. That's ZeoKing.com for natural elimination of radiation poisoning.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
You're in the Paracast. You never know what's going to happen next.
We're back with Paul Budding. We're talking about the new ufology and where the field is going and how we can get the thing off dead center with Gene and Chris on the Paracast. Chris, you want to pick up on this?
Yeah, I tend to think that some sort of robotic or a mechanistic pilot would make more sense because of the vast distances that these craft would have to travel, and it would probably take quite a bit of time, unless, of course, they have broken Einstein's, pretty hard, fast rule of the speed of light. Faster than light travel has been kicked around, but we do know that non-locality and quantum entanglement has shown that I think like particles can be affected, in a faster than light manner. I think that's pretty much been proven. But to actually apply those pretty outrageous, qualities, quantum qualities to a physical craft coming here from some other star system, it almost negates a biological pilot unless they were multi-generational pilots that were traveling here, and maybe the great-great-great-great-grandfather started out on the launch, and it ends up being one of the progeny, thousands of years later.
So you're not assuming they have warp drive and get here in 3 days?
Well, again, that's not, I guess it's not out of the realm of possibility, but again, that's really in the realm of science fiction right now. We, right now, with our level of understanding, that's not a scientifically acceptable possibility right now, based on my understanding of it. But I could be wrong. Maybe there are some breakthroughs that have been made that haven't been, divulged and made public. Maybe, there is FTL, faster than light travel. I don't know. But as it stands now, I couldn't see how anything out there would think we were remotely interesting enough to come all that way to visit us and still be seen picking flowers and looking at rocks like they've never seen them before. You could throw something in orbit around this planet the size of a beer keg and find out anything you possibly want to know. So just the whole absurdity and the giggle factor, the trickster qualities of some of these pilots as they've been described, to me doesn't make sense. It doesn't jive with the concept of aliens coming here from another planet. I think we're, like the guy, Agent Smith in The Matrix, when he said, humans are a virus. I think we're detrimental. And if they're interested in anything, it's the wonderful biodiversity that the planet has, and we're actually in the way. We're very detrimental to that biodiversity. We're losing dozens of species a year, probably, I think, a dozen a day or something. I forget what the figure is, but it's terrible. It's horrific.
Or E.T. seeded us here. They're just watching their creation.
Well, that's true. We could be like, alien ant farm. That's a possibility.
The trickster phenomenon you referred to, where these UFOs fly around toy with pilots, it always sounds more human-like to me. But to get back to the artificial intelligence theory, that wouldn't require anyone on board, because according to Kurzweil's singularity theory, machines start to think for themselves. So the UFOs would be also the intelligence behind it. You know what I mean? There would be both the craft and the intelligence.
Oh, so they're self-determined.
Yeah, that's someone's tried to influence me on that theory. I haven't signed up to it fully, but it's just as convincing as any other for me.
Well, I like Terence McKenna's theory that we already have aliens here, and they're called mushrooms, and they're here to help jumpstart consciousness, especially the magic mushrooms, the psilocybin, with the tryptamines, and that they were seeded here. And mushroom spores, of course, are one of the few life forms that can survive the vacuum of space and live millions of years in a vacuum, and then actually become mycelia, spring into action and become mycelia and then create more mushrooms. But I've always found that thinking very out of the box and very creative, that aliens are already here and they're magic mushrooms. I love that. It has a ring to it. I don't know. Boy, that was a conversation stopper, guys.
Right, Paul. What is your feeling about all this? Have you explored the trickster element, all these? They could be considered peripheral issues, but they might be core issues about the UFO mystery.
The trickster issue is just what I said a moment ago, that I think that makes me think that human intelligence involved in any of them individual cases. However, the manoeuvres of the craft would tend to differ. Again, no, you never know, because you read things from Nick Cook about craft that start time and space decades ago, and that's my conflict I have at the moment between Cook's theory and Hastings' theories, because they're both very convincing, they're both very intelligent guys who've done their research, and it's hard to pick between the two, but I do see a conflict there. They haven't actually addressed each other, I don't think, as far as I know.
Paul, just a question that occurs to me here. Do you hope to keep your research armchair? You look over the data, or do you want to go out in the field and see what's going on and try to find the evidence directly? Do you want to collect the evidence directly?
No, not at the moment. At the moment, the researcher type from home. But I get what you mean. One day, might decide to go out there and do a bit of field work.
Well, that's a good point here. Do you think we need to do any more field work, or is the information already out there and we just have to collect it and figure it out?
Well, I think that in general, that's what I'm thinking at the moment, is that the accumulated cases on top of one another, I can't see any point. Like you say, there's been so much of that done. So your point's well made. I tend to agree that at the moment doesn't seem to be any point in doing so.
No, I disagree.
I mentioned your theory before. I hadn't thought of that until you mentioned it, you see.
Yeah.
So
we still don't have the quality of hard scientific data that we need to really make a determination, and unless we throw technology and diagnostic technology at the issue, all we're going to be doing is looking at anecdotal reports. Occasionally we get lucky and there's radar returns, but that's few and far between, and there's not much you can really learn from just a simple painting by a radar.
Well, yeah, if there's technology like Chris is saying, then that does change the game. So, but that's not something I've considered. It's not something I just heard on this show today.
Okay. Well, there's lots of ways to skin the old proverbial cat in Schrodinger's box. We don't know if the cat's dead or alive, but we're sure going to skin him. That's the way I look at it. My buddy Andrew, he's a fellow Brit. He went to Oxford, has a master's in physics and mechanical engineering. He's a very bright guy. He wants to get a surplus Stinger missile and just sit there and just bring one down. He says, that's the way to do it. We just got to shoot one down. Then we'll have some wreckage to look at, and maybe we'll be able to gain some scientific, understanding.
Is he serious about that then?
Sometimes I wonder.
Well, yeah, but then look at the controversy here. Number one is, what's the impact? Would you shoot at them and have them shoot back at you? And there was a book out some years back called Shoot 'em Down, about instances in the 40s and 50s where we possibly fired at a UFO. So if you have this advanced craft with advanced propulsion, weaponry systems, you got to assume if we fire at them, they're perfectly capable of firing back, and we may not like the consequences.
Yeah, but Stephen Greer has told us that these are all benevolent space brothers, and they are not hostile. So they would take it and come down and maybe spank us.
Sure, they'll spank us. Maybe they'll level a few cities. That's a good way to spank us. Oh, you want to fire at us? Okay. Let's just take out New York City. Okay. Los Angeles.
No, I think they'd target the individual with the stinger that fired it. I think that they'd say, okay, you just earned your anal probe.
Paul Bunning is our guest this week. We have one more segment to come with Gene and Chris on
The Paracast.
So here's what happened. I was placing an order online. The site went down. It just stopped responding. It took hours before it returned, but I'd already placed the order with another company. If your site goes down, you could lose business. And if you have a business or personal site, you'll want to know it's easy to run and it will stay online. At iWeb, your site is hosted on one of the most reliable networks in the world. Check it out. iWeb.com. That's iWeb.com. For 58 years, Fate has provided true reports of the strange and unknown. Fate brings you the latest in all aspects of the paranormal, like angels and miracles, psychic phenomena, ghosts, UFOs, and much, much more. To receive your complimentary Fate magazine, call now at 1-800-728-2730 or visit their website at www.fatemag.com. That's 1-800-728-2730. What are you waiting for? Your fate awaits.
Heart and Body Extract continues to receive positive testimonials from people who have experienced amazing results, like Reed.
I just wanted to send you a quick but a very big thank you for Heart and Body Extract. I've been on the formula for nearly a month now, and the improvement in the circulation of my legs has been simply amazing.
Reed was facing a tough choice.
I was facing surgery due to the severity of the 100% blocked arteries in both my legs. And my decision, waiting for surgery, to say no and try Heart and Body Extract instead, has been thankfully the right decision.
And the result?
I can now walk up steps without noticeable pain.
Order Heart and Body Extract at 866-295-5305, 866-295-5305, or hbextract.com. Heart and Body Extract for a long and healthy life.
Hi, I'm Mark Craighead, founder of Crossbreed Holsters. I designed our top-selling holster, the Super Tuck Deluxe, to solve the problems of being poked, pinched, and gouged while carrying concealed. The Super Tuck Deluxe is the most comfortable, most concealable holster on the market today. We offer a 2-week free trial and a lifetime warranty.
Visit us at crossbreedholsters.com. Don't forget, crossbreedholsters.com.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? They've been available since 1986, yet the financial industry won't recognize the value of gold for your retirement. Gold has outperformed paper investments, yet no word about IRAs. If you would like to have gold for your retirement, call 800-686-2237. Don't get left behind by rising inflation and low returns. Call 800-686-2237. Secure your future and call 1-800-686-2237.
We all know that Berkey Water Purification Systems are the most trusted name in water filtration. As an authorized Berkey dealer for over 6 years and serving thousands of satisfied customers, the Berkey Guy offers amazing specials for Berkey Water Filtration Systems. The Berkey Light Systems include a set of self-sterilizing and recleanable black purification elements that purify water by removing chlorine, pathogenic bacteria, cysts, and parasites to non-detectable levels and remove harmful chemicals such as herbicides and pesticides. Order the Berkey Light System today, complete with 2 black Berkey elements for only $231, and the Berkey Guy will ship your order free of charge. With the purchase of a Berkey Light, the Berkey Guy is also offering a set of fluoride and arsenic filters for only $39.99. That's over 30% off the retail price. Call the Berkey Guy at 1-877-886-3653. That's 1-877-886-3653. Or order online at goberkey.com. That's goberkey.com today.
Are you tired of searching for great talk radio?
Something more important.
Search no more. We are the GCN Radio Network.
Hi, my name is Richard Dolan. You're listening to the Paracast.
What kind of probe? Well, this is a family radio show. We will not convey the image any clearer than it already is. Paul Budding about new ufology. I'm Gene Steinberg. The co-host is Chris O'Brien, and we're trying to wrap it up here. So let me ask you an interesting question here. If you discovered that all this UFO stuff was just misidentified conventional objects, as the debunkers have said all along, would you feel disappointed?
Yeah, I think a little bit, but not so much as to feel devastated or why they're going to listen and all of that. Because, well, as far as I can see, there would have been good reason to look into it. I mean, some of the people who are being told, who have told us that there's been UFOs over the nuclear missile sites in America, are very well qualified to say so. So if it all came out as wrong, I would be thinking, well, I was misled by extremely well qualified people into thinking that there was something to this phenomenon. So I wouldn't feel embarrassed, because I would still feel I was able to say why it was that I thought what I did. But there would be just a tad disappointment, yeah. If it was just all natural phenomenon, I suppose.
Yeah, but I think that's an unrealistic question, Gene, because I don't think that there's any possibility of that being true. There's just too much good evidence to support, the contention that there is something flying around in our airspace that we have not identified, and that the government knows, and that they're, they can't do anything about it. So they're like ostriches sticking their heads in the sand. They just don't want to deal with it. So,
well, the other question I was asking is to get his attitude towards the subject, not so much the reality. I don't think we expect there to be no answer. We expect there's going to be an answer out there, and somehow we have to figure it out. But the other question is, and I'll pose that with you, Paul, which is, what does the government know? What do they really know? Do they know anything, or is it more than just hiding their heads in the sand but just refusing to consider it? They haven't the clue.
I think they know that there's something to the phenomenon. They know that, my view is that Clinton's quotes expressed it quite well. He said, "Sarah, there's a government inside the government and I don't control it." I think that suggests that he's wondering, there's something to this. I'm quite interested. I'm interested in everything, maybe. That's what Hillary Clinton thinks Bill's like. If she thinks that he's interested in everything. But I think they don't want to say the president can't have a disclosure because he knows what he doesn't know. He knows that he's not aware of are they hostile or not. I mean, it can't be absolutely certain. He maybe thinks they're not because they haven't done anything yet. But they've been messing with the nuclear missiles in America, deactivating them apparently. And there's, as I mentioned, the other example I like to give is the Congress lights. That you've chased UFOs time and time again. You haven't been able to catch them, so they're superior technologically. So I think that no president can come out and disclose this, because although they might know that there's something going on, they don't know what it is, and they only know that it's superior. So that would be the answer.
And they're probably compartmentalized out of the main loop of the insiders who really know the most, I'm assuming here.
Why is that?
Possibly the presidents don't have a need to know some of this stuff. That's why Clinton made the comment that he did, because he doesn't know what is going on. I think most of this information, at least in my opinion, is within the departments of defense, within the aerospace companies. Some of your research think tanks, I think, know a lot more than your average president or politician. I don't think that they're classified a high enough level to be in the loop.
I'm aware
that's of course, George Bush.
I thought we're coming to the need to know point, and I'm aware of that. I'm not, but then that just pushes the question a bit further. These people who know, who don't say anything to the president, it's how much they know. I'm not sure if they have every answer to these questions that you like to, understandably like to raise.
No, they know a lot more than we do. That's why they're that much more confused.
Yeah, more confused, therefore, yes.
Well, that would be the other issue here with regard to presidential knowledge or any government leader anywhere. Now, obviously here, the effect wouldn't be as serious, but you have to imagine what's going to happen in a totalitarian government. If there was any evidence that the emperor, the king, whoever, whatever, they weren't told, what are they going to do?
Ooh, ouch. That would be scary. I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that tantrum.
So the question is, what would a totalitarian leader do?
Sure, what would Gaddafi do?
That's beyond my knowledge. It's beyond our modern Western culture, I suppose. We're not quite sure how they think. It's easier
blame it on the gin.
It's easier to imagine how I don't know, British or American Prime Minister or President would react than it is Libyan President, I would say. It's hard to imagine.
The Chinese. How about the Chinese? I mean, the largest UFO group on the planet is 500,000 people belong to a UFO group in China.
Yeah,
I bet you the Chinese know a lot more than they're letting on.
There's some societies like North Korea that are so secretive that they sound like a fictional text when you read newspaper articles on them. So we're not quite sure how they think and how their culture would react, their society would react, and so on. But we know from America, for instance, because well, you might argue this because it was a long time ago, but the War of the Worlds message on the radios at New Jersey showed that there was some panic then. And people say, well, maybe we've got more mature now, wouldn't react the same way, but the Milgram experiment has been repeated since, and people say, well, we'd react different now to that, and we haven't, so I'm not sure that too much changes in them regards. It's the psychological reactions. So I think there's something in the that some people would be panicked by it, those with a conservative mindset psychologically, perhaps.
Yeah, I think people have been programmed by the media and by pop culture enough to. I think it's different from when it was back when Orson Welles did that infamous broadcast in I think it was 38. But I think kids now, if you ask the average 10 to 15-year-old, are there aliens? They go, sure, there are aliens. Lots of aliens, man. Haven't you ever seen Star Wars or, Yeah,
well,
there's bars and all these different types of aliens
Chris,
hang out and drink weird shots. And
Chris, the theory, of course, is that there are elements in some of those movies to get us ready, like Close Encounters, for example, or E.T., Warm and Fuzzy E.T.s. Any of these movies have elements to get us acquainted with the concept and the reality that E.T. is there and they're visiting us and they might land soon, because that's the entire issue here. Is disclosure dependent on someone revealing what they know or that force revealing what they are?
I would say it's that force revealing what they are. And also, like I was saying earlier, about people, respectful scientists getting into the field, making it more conformist, familiar, easy to accept, more mainstream. And then I think people start to accept, but this sounds a heck of a lot more simple just to say it than it actually happening now. Yeah. I don't expect that to happen overnight.
Yeah, so disclosure could be a decades-long process. Paul Budding, tell our listeners where they can find more of the things you do.
So I've got a DocStock website. Do you mean to give addresses over the radio?
Give your web address, yes.
Right. It's http://docstock.www.profile/Paul Budds. That's Budds.
What about the UFOinstitute.org?
Right, that one. Make sure I get it right. You don't get one letter wrong.
All right, well, UFOinstitute.org, isn't that a good place to find what you do?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just go for UFOinstitute.org. And by the way, we have a link over at theparacast.com so our listeners can find it and they can get a hold of the information about you, your blogs, your work, everything else. Chris O'Brien, where do we find more of your stuff?
Well, I'll be at the MUFON International Symposium in Irvine, California this weekend. So if you're there, grab me and say hello if you're in the neighborhood. Also, I have a website, OurStrangePlanet.com. And you can find me lurking around at forum.theparacast.com. And I want to thank Paul for being on the show. And we look forward to more papers from you, Paul.
Oh, sure, yes. I'm planning to write one very soon. I haven't decided exactly what on, but maybe it will come from some of the issues raised in this interview.
Thanks for joining us, Paul.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much for having me.
The Paracast, featuring Gene Steinberg and Christopher O'Brien, is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible, Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in The Paracast.